Pulling up the notes. We're doing this. Firehouse Vigilance. It is weekly scrap. Number 100. Who would have thought the scrap would get to 100, but here we are. And who better to be the guest than one of my mentors, one of the most influential voices of the modern fire service. He runs County Fire Tactics. He believes in gallons per second. He believes in water on the fire. He believes that it is worth the risk. And I believe tonight he's going to be talking about people before water. So my friend, Curt Isakson, welcome back to the scrap.
Awesome, brother. Thanks, Corley. I really appreciate it. I've been real excited about getting the opportunity to get back on here with you, especially, number 100. And it got me to delay redoing that doc video on people before water. And, in the years past, I usually do a back to school when my kids go back to school to, get us back to school mentally with the fire service and not wait until January 1st. So thanks a lot for having me on.
Very, very, very excited. We got a lot planned this evening. We're going to try. Everybody's already logging in. It's going to be crazy, off the chain, good times. They're already saying, let's go to church. Ding, ding, ding. Let's get ready to rumble. Let's go. There is so much hype already. I'm not even going to try and read them all. Someone said video isn't working. No video. Okay, hang on, guys. 2 speakers. Figuring it out. I promise you. We'll go with this for right now. I don't know why the video. Okay, but we'll just go with this. Okay, you guys will live with it. Is everybody cool with that? Let me know if that doesn't work. Checking. Okay. Not perfect. The overlay doesn't look great, but we're going to be doing a lot of stuff with this, so just bear with the video. So there we go. All right. Thanks for letting me know. Video is now working. We're running. All right, Chief. Right out the gate, I wanted to hit you with this one, which is last year I came to Commanding from the Sidelines, and you talked about, first time I heard you talk about it, but was expanding your emotional intelligence, and that was your quest for 2021. So I want to get an update on how it's going and where you're at with it.
It's good. You know what I mean? For me, it's a challenge. I would like to say, since you asked that question, one of the huge announcements is I'm throwing that shit out the door tonight. So I'm like, this is like Amnesty Day all in one. So tonight I'm getting a free pass to let go of the emotional intelligence. I mean, it's been a long year. So when we're done with this tonight, I'll be back on my quest tomorrow morning. But, I think anybody that knows that follows CF Tactics, I haven't done any stupid posts since January 1st or, got on the dock much. The one night I got a little fired up when I wasn't supposed to about people before water. But people got to understand it. When I'm talking, I'm not talking to a firehouse, in Boston or New York or downtown Atlanta. I'm talking to the 75% of the fire service that, operates with one rig or less than 5 people running out of a firehouse. But the emotional intelligence, I'd love to say it's something I wanted to do on my own, but I had quite a few real close personal friends, earlier this year back in January come to me and asked me to do it. And I had to do it based on them. Obviously, Jessica, being my top, director.
Sure.
But it's tough when you love the job like we do. And then my job is to get people fired up. My job is to get people to question what they're doing. Because if you keep doing the same old shit the same way, you're going to get the same results. And, that's what County Fire Tactics is all about. It's about looking at what you need to do based on your response area, your staffing. And I say that as a student of, Clark's Blue Book and Freed's Red Book, and obviously all the editions of Chief John Norman and all the other great tactics books out there. I mean, I wrote the article, the Urban Ledger, the New Yorker, and I'm a big fan of urban firefighters and urban firefighting, but over my 30 plus years of going to fires in different response districts, different, attack packages, have learned that we got to adjust, based on our area. We just can't do the same thing everybody else is doing.
Right on. Let's go. Okay, so I'm going to try and catch you up on just the sheer amount of hype here. I'm just going to randomly select things with exclamation points on them. Mainly it's let's go, yes, lots of exclamation points. Hello, let's go from Omaha. Heck yeah, it's a good night, this podcast. Had just got a Jobtown tattoo. Howard Reinwald says he's here. Owe everything to him. Listening in the truck, coming home from Kansas City from Steve Young. Guys, there's so much. So tons of love for this. Smoothbore Cartel chiming in said, yes, I'm so stoked for this. Everybody is fired up. So anyway, the new look here tonight is not a new look for the scrap. It's me. We're going to be doing Chief Ike has a lot of stuff planned for this evening, and it's if you've ever done anything with Chief Ike, you know it's kind of like having a tiger by the tail. So I'm along for the ride with you guys as we do this. So enjoy. And Chief, where are we starting?
Well, first I want to start and say that, the people that can hang on and stay tonight, we're going to be giving out different conference passes. Scott Slocum, my buddy that is part of the CFT team, he took over countyfiretactics.com. He'll post in the comments. There'll be a Google sheet. And tomorrow we'll get it up on countyfiretactics.com. Make sure you sign up for the box alarm. But we're going to give out a free HROC, a free ODP, the 40-hour officer development program that's got 5 different speakers, 4 of them that have textbooks, and then a CFT 100. Todd texted me. We're going to give away a pass to the November 3rd conference in Tallahassee, just there north of Montgomery on November 3rd. So giving a lot of stuff away. And then I'm also, Jessica created a coupon code for $99 off HROC coming this year if you're watching tonight, or ODP, $99 off. And we're going to post that code a little later for anybody that wants to register for those two, just to make the value for somebody giving up their night. But Corey, is it okay if we talk about the senior assistant chief in Denver?
Absolutely. Let me pull it up. Now, guys, this is the part you guys have to bear with me as I run this and get it working. So I'm sharing the screen, pulling up the photos, making sure I got it.
That's awesome.
All right, Chief.
And I'll just talk while you're popping it up.
Absolutely.
I'd be remiss without saying, man, Chief Dave McGrail today got pinned badge number 1 by his dad in Denver, a picture there with his father and his son. And, what a huge mentor to me, a mentor to the fire service, the high-rise chief, wrote the textbook on it. HROC would not be what it is today without Chief McGrail. He's been coming out since year 1, day 1. If you've been there, you've heard me say that he's the first guy that I called after Ray and I decided we were going to do it. Chief McGrail always brings out one hell of a team out of Denver. So, man, a shout out to Chief McGrail for getting badge number 1, senior chief, assistant chief in the Denver Fire Department, man. And if you're watching this and you don't have Chief McGrail's book, you need to get it. Take his classes, watch his keynote from years ago at FDIC. Obviously, he'll be at HROC as he is every year with his 13 guys. And then this year, January, in ODP, he's doing a full day covering his high-rise book cover to cover. So congratulations, Chief McGrail, man. To see your father pinning that badge just made my day. That was the highlight of my day. It really was.
No, it's awesome. Well deserved. I've reached out. I know he was at FDIC, and FDIC was going on last week, and I was trying to schedule him because I've been trying to get him on the scrap for quite some time. He's agreed to come on. I just have to get him pinned down. So
he's a busy guy, and he'll do it, man. And he's definitely, got to be careful when you're throwing out saying everybody's the best, but I can 100% positively say he's in my top 5 most professional, polished speakers in a fire service. There's different types of speakers. I wouldn't classify myself as polished. I'm a little off the chart and a little unchained, but Chief McGrail is, one of them speakers that reminds me of people like John Maxwell. He could speak outside the fire service to Fortune 500 companies. So pretty cool.
No, absolutely. And Adam Brett Ashworth actually said, Chief McGrail, he said he's a top shelf chief. So he's taking his class when he makes the reference. And it's a great way to describe him.
No, cool. And there's so much negative stuff going on in the fire service. And, I actually just want to make sure everybody sees that I'm wearing my 369 Spartanburg shirt tonight. Just got, I was at FDIC last week, but from FDIC, I flew straight to Spartanburg, South Carolina. Some of you might know them from 2013, 2014. They supported UL, did some of the live burns out there. And, man, I've been, that's the stage. The brothers out there, Chief Brad and the union president, Jared, and the fire chief, man, labor, the labor union president working with the training chief and the fire chief. Unbelievable teamwork. It reminds me of what I saw on the side of the Indianapolis fire trucks back in the 90s when I started going to FDIC. It was something like Partners Together, for a better fire department. And just unbelievable, man. I stayed out every night later than I thought I would because, was just so motivating to see a union president working with the training chief. The fire chief came out both nights to the socials to say hello in a very professional way. And then they went out of their way to set up the stage. And so I'm looking to go back there. And, it's the first time I came back, and I told Jessica, I said, I don't know what we got to do, but I'm going back there. And we might need to work with them on doing our first CFT conference off of Pensacola Beach. Might need to be at Spartanburg, South Carolina, if they'll agree to do it, man. Just what a cool city, a cool town. So if you ever get a chance to go by a Firehouse in Spartanburg, man, they're going to open the door and roll out the carpet. Just a phenomenal set of brothers. So shout out and thanks to them, to the phenomenal hospitality. And they truly showed the brotherhood's alive. Just, the guys coming out and making stuff out, and the gals coming out. They got a few of them coming 2 weeks from now to Water on the Fire. So what a great fire department. It's always neat when you see that, because you hear about so many negative stories.
No doubt about it. Now, I want to ask, and this is just off topic, on topic, is when you go to a place like Spartanburg, does that fire you up? Which fires you up more? Like having a great conference at your 850 back at your hometown, or going to a great venue conference that you travel to? Which would you go?
I mean, I enjoy both. Obviously, the conferences on Pensacola Beach mean something to me. If you know that I gave up testing for the FDNY, nearly 30 years ago, to stay here. So, having people on Pensacola Beach is awesome. I mean, I get to bring the people I want to bring to Pensacola Beach, pay for their travel, put them in a hotel, and have a great time. So it's hard to surpass having something on Pensacola Beach. And I can honestly say I don't always get jumping up and down and giggly about all of them. I mean, we do 5 a year. We started over 10 years ago, Ray and I did. And with the first one, urban to suburban. But, sometimes it's like going to work. You'd be lying. I mean, sometimes it's a job. If you see me, I'm staying out late at night. I'm coming down that ramp by the kitchen when people eating breakfast, running 100 miles an hour. I will say, Corey, I don't think I've been as excited about a conference as I am Water on the Fire in a long time. And I just, there's just something about it, man. The pride of having UL and Steve Kerber agreeing to support and sponsor building a UL prop. Key Stakes is coming in, and Mike Alton. We got a group of, phenomenal brother firefighters that are contractors are going to help build this thing. And that just means the world to me. I could tell you one of my top goals for the future is not letting dust collect on the UL studies.
Nice.
Too many great guys out there, starting with Steve Kerber and his team, Key Stakes, and those guys, and obviously the members, the board members, man. I was busy at FDIC, but I made sure I went to the big room for, over half of it to hear them talk about the coordinated fire attack study, which I did. And I sat on the panel, but I didn't do a lot of giving back or feedback on it. I read what was sent out, but I didn't really reply. So, I was kind of like a member on there. So I feel like my job is those guys did the book work. They did the typing, the responses, and all that stuff. So I take my job with my platform at CF Tactics County Fire and at conferences is to make sure 2 years from now, there's not dust collecting on the interior, the exterior, the search, the ventilation, the UL Fire Academy. So that this stuff needs to be available, and people need to be studying it a year and 2 years from now. Recruit schools. You were doing some interviews today. These people come on a fire department. We got to tell them about the UL Fire Academy.
Yes.
Brass tacks, hard facts. I was a little part of it. 3 years from now, those videos are still going to be relevant. It's free training when it's 115-degree heat index outside. And a real quick shout out on sponsorships. I don't always do this, but anybody knows me. My top supporter is Elkhart Brass. And, they're not just a company that sponsors CF Tactics County, but, I'm not going to tell the story tonight. I've told it on podcasts before, but Elkhart's the number one company in the American Fire Service that I truly would put my name to. I believe in it. Their product works. They don't come up with gimmicks. And just the crew there, the guys there, man, there's, Chris Martin, Stretch, and Jerry Herbst and Andy, and, those guys are, and they got a bunch of other guys. They're just awesome. They're going to be at Water on the Fire. And I tell you, if I let a vendor get on our stage at a conference, that means I back them, because I'm not into, the latest gadgets. So thanks to Elkhart, and they're actually going to sponsor the free shuttle to and from Water on the Fire. So when you land at the airport, you don't have to rent a car or pay for a shuttle. So thanks to Elkhart for renting that shuttle for us and everything else they do. I bet you right now, there's a couple of dozen viewers that Elkhart shipped them nozzles, man. Just no questions asked, just to borrow. And I think they pretty much support any fire conference in the country that needs them to drop ship equipment. So, that's a big deal. And they really don't have to do it. Their nozzles just sell themselves. So enough of that rant. I don't do a real good job thanking the people that are really helping us get these conferences going around the country.
Chief, I love it. I love it. Absolutely. So the next picture I got pulling up for you. Yeah, I know. Everybody's excited. There's been quite a few mentions of the fact that people better grab their seatbelts because Chief Ike just chugged a Monster. So,
well, it's better than Mountain Dew, man. 20 years ago when I was working 56 hours a week in the Pensacola Fire Department, 45 in the county, I was pulling 101 hours a week. I was living on a 12-pack of Mountain Dew a day. Oh, shit, man. You had it there, Corley.
I had to.
So, for anybody that doesn't know, clean cabs don't make grabs. And, as Howard Reinwald says, when seconds count, we count seconds. And, tonight I'm going to try to keep the foul language down and the 4-letter words. But at the end of the day, real quick, is it hard, Corley, to pull up the modern and legacy furnishing video? So we'll come back to the Miami-Dade, but I want you to think about this in terms of an educational thought process. And I get it, man. I've argued with some old timers. And old timers will say, when I got on a job, our air packs were in a box on the side of the truck and we had to put them on. And people will tell me how they, their rescue trucks, the packs in the back. I get it. I worked on Rescue 31 for years in the Pensacola Fire Department. And when we got there, we got off and we had to put our packs on. But the first due engine, the first due truck came off locked and loaded. And at the end of the day, when you look at that UL video, modern versus legacy, we're not fighting Granddaddy's fire. It was 30 minutes to flashover. It's 3 minutes and 40 seconds now. 30 seconds could be the difference between life and death. And I'd like to commend, the Miami-Dade Fire Department, man. Chief Dave Downey is just one of the top mentors to me. He's retired now. His wife's a fire chief. And you know what they did? They went and tried the clean cab. It didn't work, and they're going back to air packs in a cab and working on another way to decon and clean their air packs. But, at the end of the day, the fire service has got to wake up. We're talking ignition to flashover. And I realize it's an experiment, but that's what we're seeing on a fire ground. You get there, you need to come off the rig, man. The ladder 12 grab, and we're going to get into that. I don't want to jump ahead. We'll get into that with people before water. But I do want to give a shout out to the Miami-Dade Fire Department, their leadership, listening to their people. I don't have the whole backstory. I just know that Dennis Laguerre took the pictures. And at FDIC, Miami-Dade's got air packs in their rig. So one of the top 10 largest fire departments in the country. Any viewers out there that got, chiefs that, work Monday through Friday, 8 to 5, and they're not pulling up, like we did back in October of this last year. I pulled up, man. I had a guy that was getting checked off to be a battalion chief, phenomenal lieutenant that I have. And we almost got assaulted. I mean, literally assaulted by the mother of 2 kids that were trapped in a fire. And I get why she was assaulting us. Thank God the companies responded in before us, with us, and after us, came off the rig, locked and loaded, man. I couldn't imagine them having to put their gear on. In the rookie school, we try to get recruits and minimum standards down to 60 seconds. 60 seconds. I mean, I want you to hold your breath for 4 minutes and then just hold it for 60 more seconds. Like, right. It don't matter. So stop regurgitating stupid stuff. My dad drank water out of a garden hose. I buy my kids bottled water. I mean, really? Give me a break. I got bottled waters all over the place. So, just a thing that I do think that people are listening. I think we got a lot of great leaders out there. We can't give up, man. It's just putting in the time and the effort. And I hate it when somebody says, well, give me an incident. Well, we can give you 100 incidents. Shit, Brown Brush can give you, 1,000 of
Absolutely.
them nearly in the first 3 months of the year. So, that's a big deal to me, the whole Miami-Dade putting their packs back in a rig. I'm just happy about that. I'm ecstatic.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I'm along. This is the thing. I've got a tiger by the tail right now. I'm just trying to figure out what you want to talk about next and what I need to pull up. I can throw questions at you if you'd like, and
that's fine.
And the audience usually will throw questions. Right now, we're just basking in the excitement of number 100, Chief Ike on a Monster, and the fact of clean cabs don't make grabs. So everything about it is great right now. Stop regurgitating stupid shit. I love it. That's a perfect quote right there. That is encapsulating it. All right. Pulling up notes, waiting for the audience. People before water, and I'm ready to get you fired up, Chief, but I do want to set the stage. You're talking about a task-saturated, manpower-limited emergency scene, bread and butter type fire when a primary search has not been completed. Yes, no? Is that encapsulated, or you got more to add?
You talking to me or the person that typed that up?
No, you. I'm talking to you. I'm throwing that at you.
Let's say that again.
Task-saturated, manpower-limited emergency scene.
Well, that's what I did for years. So for anybody that doesn't know, I grew up a volunteer midway with 1,000-gallon booster tanks. It's fully paid, fully staffed now, 4 in a rig. But I would go to fires where it's just me. I stretched the line. I went back and charged it. So I grew up going to fires where we did the most we could with 1,000 gallons a minute. That's my experience. Then went to a one-station paid department, runs with Fort Walton and Destin, called Mary Esther as a fire inspector. Went to Pensacola, ISO 1, local 707, fully staffed department, hydrants on every corner. When I went to Escambia County, I was the only on-duty battalion chief for 664 square miles, 20-plus stations. And the first few years, I had 4 badasses on an engine with 690 gallons of water. That's what I had, nothing else. It could be 15 or 20 minutes for, and I'm talking about in a heavily populated area, houses side by side, alphabet streets. And so what I feel fortunate about for county fire tactics is being able to do a little bit of all. No hydrants, plenty of hydrants, a little bit of hydrants, task saturated, minimal manpower. That's what I call time delay tactics. If you're taking notes, write that down. Time delay tactics means you have tactics that need to be performed, but you got to delay them a certain amount of time because you don't have enough people to do them. So you can't be doing promotional tactics. You can't just do them because they have to be done. You pull up with 4 or less people on a rig, you either put all them people into getting water on the fire to fully extinguish it and break every window so you can walk through there and rapidly find a search with, 100% visibility, or you pull up and they say, Johnny's in that window, and you focus on a quick VES grab while the driver maybe uses a 2.5 for the B-Watch Blitz and knocks the shit out of it with a 2.5 using Stream Reach.
Right.
But we're leading into people before water. It's going there. Okay. We don't even know it. See, we're not even in charge. But I do want to put this quote up, Corley. I texted it to you earlier. Is the hydrant for them or is it for us? That's the question I want to ask the American Fire Service. Because everybody just wants to regurgitate what somebody told them in a recruit school. I know what the IFSTA manual says, but I haven't agreed with it for 25 years. So is the hydrant for them, the trapped victim, or is it for us to keep us from being embarrassed because we're inadequate at sizing up our capabilities with a booster tank? But we'll run around the fire service, jumping up and down, doing jumping jacks about how kick-ass a 2.5-gallon water can, when you got a booster tank with 750 gallons, that's 300 water cans. It would be hoarding conditions inside the average house. Now, all right, I'm gonna back off because we gotta ease into this bad boy.
Okay.
But
okay.
People before water.
No, I do. That is the quote. Yeah, no doubt about it. Is it for us?
I want to know. Yeah.
No, I get
seriously. I know what the fire chief's answer is. The hydrant's for them because they think running out of water is the worst thing that could happen on a fire ground. Worst thing that happen on a fire ground is a damn civilian that's counting on the American Fire Service to be trapped and dying because a 2-room fire and an 1,800 square foot house fire with a 3-person engine company that's not their fault. They're not properly staffed. And we're catching a hydrant with a second-due rig. But, we got some other stuff. But I do want to say with that quote that I sent you earlier, Corley, was because hydrants don't pull people out of houses, and a lack of hydrants not cause a residential line of duty deaths. So we're going to talk real about 2 different fires later tonight. Both fires. One, all the hydrants in the world's probably not going to put it out. And the other one, you don't need a hydrant, and they both killed firemen. So we got to be realistic.
No, I love it. Okay, I don't want to get you. Yeah, I got a question coming at you from the audience here. You can take it wherever you want. Let me get back to it. I actually marked it, but now I can't. There's so many. Guys, I love you all. There's so Chief Ike, we are looking to go with a 400-foot line off the rear. Any tips and tricks for deployment and training on it? Never had one before in our department. Thanks. That's from Joe Gavita.
Hey Joe, how you doing? I'll tell you, and this kind of will spin. I'm going to answer Joe's question, man. Joe's a great guy. But there's one thing that I started focusing on about a year ago. I've done 2 classes where it was just me, commanding from the sidelines and command and control of fires. I think you came to one of them, didn't you, Gordon?
Sidelines, yes.
Yeah. And they were both totally different. And I'm trying to find my niche in the world of teaching fire ground commanders, commanding from the sidelines, where it's a class that's not just blue card. It's not just, the typical East Coast tactics, run around with a hula hoop, where people that I can truly show people in my nearly 18 years as a fire ground commander in a busy metro county. Sometimes I sit in the front seat looking through the windshield. Sometimes in the back of the buggy on my phone, like I am in the Ladder 12 grab. And sometimes I'm in the front door feeding hose because we're, task saturated, incident limited, staffing. But, so to answer Joe's question is, I don't have a problem with a 400-foot pre-connect, man. There's places all over the country have been doing a lot. And I know people want to throw out Oscar Armstrong's incident with the 350-foot pre-connect, whatever it was. I think it was Engine 9 on Laidlaw Avenue, Engine 9 or Engine 11. But, at the end of the day, the 350-foot pre-connect, there was more to the problem than that. And a great fire department. And that's, our importance to study it is, I'm not going to lie to you. And I got brothers that work with me tonight, probably listening. I wish that Escambia County, we could have sexy low hose beds and, bulk beds, and we could estimate the stretch and hook up. But it's hard for me to push for that when I go to fires and they're doing such a jam up job. And I know you can crucify me with a triple air load, but I just go to fires and they impress me. They do a great job with it. So Joe, the answer is, you asking a question, you don't need to do anything else. You're going to figure it out. You're going to make it happen. The biggest thing, bumps to the pumps, that's the place you can break it and hook it up. I don't have a problem. When I first went to Escambia County 21 years ago, if they needed a 2.5 on a garage, they thought they had to stretch the entire 200-foot, 2.5 pre-connect. I mean, the guys now are doing a B-Watch blitz with a 50-foot of standpipe hose with a nozzle on it. Some are just stretching 50 or 100 and breaking it, hooking into the number 1 or 2 discharge. So, Joe, if your buildings are there, we can do it, man. And the reality is, with today's hose and pumps, there's nothing wrong with pumping a 400-foot, 1 3/4 hose line, which might even be an 1 8/8. Who knows what brand he's using? But there's nothing wrong with it. The key thing is get a pitot gauge out, get a flow meter, do some pump tests, and figure out what your pump discharge pressure needs to be to get the flow for the nozzle that's the end of that hose line. That's the key of figuring out what you need to do. I think Orlando's working on some different, hose beds that they're going to do, or, different options. For us, we rarely need anything more than a 200. So rare that to take up that much space and do away with our standardization of hose, on our rigs. Because I do think, Oscar Armstrong, Cincinnati, put out a great line of duty death report, the fire department itself did. And one of the things was doing some standardization of apparatus. With the few times a year that we have to do that weird stretch, they're going to grab the 100-foot Guston pack and break the nozzle off the 200-foot pre-connect, or they're going to do a beyond the pre-connect where they take a static bed of 2.5 or 3 inch with a water thief, which the water thief rarely ever does more than one line hookup to it. So it's really just a multi-versal tool that can be used for emergency hydrant hookup, feeding a ram, or whatever the case may be. So I didn't mean to take that long to answer Joe's question, but I guess, the thing for me is I'm slowly dipping out of giving my opinion on actual, how to set up your rigs with hose and that. Obviously, I believe in, the big 3: desired amount, desired reach, desired nozzle reaction. But you need to set up the hose and nozzles based on your district. What are the buildings you go? You go into all garden apartments, you go into all suburban long driveways where the rigs can't get down. I will say this. I think it's absurd to have a 100-foot bumper line and call it a trash line. I think if you're going to, I'm not saying you have to have a bumper line, but if you have a bumper line, it should be 150 feet. 100 feet from the rig, even on the shortest setback, is just not enough hose. Even if it's a car fire, that means you have to be within 100 feet of a $75,000 Suburban with a 35-gallon fuel tank that's made out of plastic. I don't think that's real good. Park a $600,000 apparatus with 100 feet of a vehicle. If you have 150, you can be 100 feet back and still have 50 feet of working line. And I tell you, our guys, man, they do a jam up job with that bumper line when they pull down a driveway or they 45 in to get out of the way of the truck. A lot of times that bumper line is what they stretch for an initial attack line, because we have the hose is created equal to our cross lays, and we put, Elkhart 150 at 50s, nozzles on there. We've been phasing into the only breaker part we have is the bumper now. So you can put a foam tip on there, extend it. You got the option of a smoothbore, whatever. So it's a very versatile bumper line. But sorry, Joe, I really don't have an opinion other than I'm okay with a 400-foot, 1 3/4 pre-connect or rear line. I'm more okay with it than I've ever been.
Awesome. Now you stirred a hornet's nest. There's quite a few questions coming at you on this word, IFSTA. So Garrett Tay said, since you talked about not agreeing with IFSTA, how do you convince the department that there are better ways to do things when all they care about is liability? And then your friend and mine, Rob Fisher, followed it up with, question, I am with many of the others above. If the IFSTA is outdated, how do we address this issue? How do we get people like Curt and many others to write a text that is worth using?
Man, it's complicated. Once that gets in the tracks, man, we don't have enough of us, people watching out there that have the ability or the time to put in. I mean, all you got to do is go look at the IFSTA manual. People put it on social media all the time, these goofy chapters about search and fire attack and, all that. I don't have a key answer, man, other than, do what you did, do what I did, do what Rob did, and get promoted to battalion chief and slowly, get that in there, slowly find a way to teach your folks, show them what works on a fire ground. And, since Rob asked the question, I'll throw it back at him, 10 pounds of pressure 100% of the time. And you work at it. We're making progress. We really are, and not everybody uses IFSTA. I mean, I would say the majority of large cities are not using it. And, people are just slowly phasing it in. When you are going to, if you get into the training division, I mean, I got to throw this out there. Brian Brush in Midwest City, training chief. Brad Bennett, Spartanburg. I mean, I had dinner with both of those guys. Brian Brush, in Indianapolis last week, and Brad Bennett in Spartanburg. And I could throw a bunch. My best friend, my lifelong best friend, best man at my wedding next to my dad, lives, across the street from me. He's a training chief in Pensacola. He's doing what he can. He's a smart guy that is way more emotionally intelligent than I'll ever be. And so we need guys like that. You just got to get more, or gals, get more people that love the job in the training division. I'm telling you, man, that's the place to make it happen, and just get them involved and be in that ear in the staff meetings. Get, on these promotional exams. It might take you 5 years, but get Chief John Norman's, book on the promotional exam. Get that material, get specific articles added to your SOGs. That's probably the biggest thing we got to do. And I think the biggest thing coming down the pipe is firefighterrescuesurvey.com. I really do. I started firefighterrescues.com, I guess over 10 years ago now, which was a Mickey Mouse thing. I did it from my phone, but that what they're doing is my dream. It really is. It's their dream, but they're doing it. But I'm so excited to be in the stands and sitting back and seeing this facts, man. And the stuff that Brush pulled out the first 3 months is what drove me. I was already writing the article, People Before Water, because I was, talking to Brush weekly on the numbers, and it's going to save lives. I'm telling you, we get the fire service to embrace booster backup, People Before Water, and they study the data from the over 2,000 grabs and Brian Brush's, research project for University of Oklahoma. I truly 100% think we can get the number below 2,000 in 2022.
I love that.
I mean, that's what it's about. When I watched Chief Brian Brush, he was on a few months ago, and I watched it, and Chief Salka, man, had the best question. He wasn't beating him up. He was asking the most important question. What's this going to do? Is this going to lower the number, or is it just some more good feel stuff? And I wasn't going to get on there and be rude to Chief Brush and them, but I wanted to text or call Chief Salka and say, if you and I, as speakers on the national circuit, if we pump this stuff and we push it and we drive people to reanalyze their tactics and what they're doing, then yes, it will lower the numbers. I mean this. I looked at those grabs. I look at grabs that Fort Walton Beach has made, Northwest Florida, and the 850 that have been made. We had 4 grabs in around about a month period. I don't know the exact time, but earlier this year in Escambia County, we had 4 grabs. I'm telling you, I've seen grabs in our department, the 850 and around the country that I know personally about, the ones that are on the Grab podcast, just 10 years ago, guaranteed 20 years ago, those grabs would have been fatality. I'm talking about successful, not just you pulled them out and they died.
They didn't make it, right.
Yeah, they made it. Successful rescues where people lived 10, 20 years ago, they wouldn't have. The department didn't have the training. They weren't that aggressive. They didn't have the staffing. There's just so many great things that are happening, and we just got to take it to a new level. And, the reality comes down to numbers, man. It's numbers on the firefighter rescue survey, and anything less than 6 within 6 minutes, the numbers go through the roof. We need 6 and under 6. That should be the number. We need 6 firefighters. I'm writing it down myself because, I believe this, but it's just what we got to preach. We need 6 firefighters in under 6 minutes on a fire ground to get a line in a building and get a 2-person search. That's the initial. Now, we need to back that up with the outside vent, coordinated fire attack, sustained water supply,
yes,
all that other. But you just study UL, use your own experience. We got to get water to cool the oxygen limited environment, and we got to get somebody searching simultaneously. The numbers are there. You got to read them. You just can't skim over it. You got to look, you got to dive deep into it to really figure out, what it is.
Love it. Okay. Real quick, I'm going to interrupt and say, everybody, normally there's not this much, but there's so much interaction that I'm actually, the comments are scrolling off before I can get to them. I probably won't be able to see them until it's no longer live. So I'm just telling you that there's been some good questions go by. I saw a question about search. I don't remember who asked it. So please repost it. You were asking about how do you prioritize search when you're not sure about victims. I don't know the exact wording, so please repost it. There was another one about tactics. Anyway, if you want a question to be asked, you may have to repost it because they are actually leaving to where I can't see them. So just wanted you guys to know that because I would like to throw them at Chief because they are good questions. And guys, it's a great problem to have, me trying to keep up with your comments. And you guys are doing an amazing job of answering each other's questions, so I really do appreciate that. Someone wanted to know, Chief, what you thought of splitting a 4-man engine company and running an engine and like I forget the word they use, but like a truck.
Oh, just cross-staffing. That's real common. They got an engine and truck in the same firehouse, and they do 2 and 2.
I don't even think not a ladder truck. They were talking about like a squad-type pickup truck ambulance. I'm not quite sure what the term they used was. They were doing 2 and 2.
I can't speak for their department, man. Their chiefs have the reason why they do what they do. If 2 are out on a squad going to a medical call, that leaves 2 on an engine to still pull up, to hit an exposure with a deck gun or a garage fire or whatever. Ideally, for what I've experienced and my personal experience, I would rather 4 rolling up on 1 rig under the command of 1 company officer to dictate that deployment. Radios work, but when you start splitting people up in fragment, it's a lot of individual operations on a fire ground, but you got to do what your jurisdiction does. Ideally, I prefer the staffing all on 1 rig. And with Pensacola Beach in the past, we've had to do a lot of 2 and 2. So I do have experience with it, and I understand the fire chief's arguments of why they do 2 and 2. They have a city council and all that, and I'm not giving the political response, but I'm not going to say anything on here that you're going to be able to take back to your fire department and get them to put all 4 on a rig.
Right.
And that's sometimes what people want, and I don't have that answer. I really don't.
I've got the question here. It says, Chief, this comes from Dustin Ross Hopper. He said, Chief, when there isn't an imminent rescue to be made, how do you prioritize the search? Do you use the second due or wait on the truck/rescue?
You want me to give 100% the factual answer?
I'd love that.
There's always an immediate rescue. The house is occupied until we confirm that it's not occupied. I personally have been to way too many fires where they said nobody was home, nobody's there, and they were. And that's not just a coin answer. It's occupied. The grab that Ladder 12 just made into January, 10:02 in the morning. That's the lowest hour in a 24-hour period of documented NIFRS reports of trapped occupants. It's the safest hour in a 24-hour period of nobody trapped. No cars in the driveway, a dozen people standing in the street, across the street, only one caller. Everybody thought it was vacant. They're gone. There's usually a car there. And we went people before water. First engine in, stretched the line, 3-person engine company, Nozzle, an officer working the line, pump operator working. Second rig came in, dropped a 75-foot, booster backup feeder line, and they came off locked and loaded. Zero. The lowest possible chance, other than a State Farm agent standing out there and saying, I'm guaranteeing there's nobody in there, that it was not occupied. It was vacant as vacant could be. And they're running, and we're going to show the video tonight. They're running down the B Bravo side of the house, mask already on. You people out there asking about wearing masks, they already had me. I was in command. The engine company's on team fighting the fire. They're coming in. They're searching. They came off the rig. Their mask is on. Boom. They're moving with purpose. They're hustling. They're running. It's on video. They're running down the side of the building. Don't tell me this shit you can't run on a fire ground, because your family, your ass will be running. And they went to the back of the building. They VES like it was just like you were going to a conference. What do you do at a conference when you know it's a Rescue Randy you're looking for, right? We should be going to every building like we're trying to rescue the Rescue Randy in front of our comrades from around the country and impress them, because our name's on the back of our coat and our department's on the back of our coat. That's what you ought to be doing at every single fire. Search has got to be a priority. And I'm passionate about it, and I don't apologize. I've experienced over 50 civilian fire fatalities. You heard me talk, man. I tell it. The first one was in 1979, and I tell you that one, but that one before I was, as a kid, and I watched them put a man in a body bag. My dad had explained to me what it was, and I've just been plagued of being on duty when this shit happens. It sucks, whether it's where I work now, when I worked in Pensacola, when I was in Midway. I went to a bunch of fire fatalities. Midway, more so, most of them, more of them in Navarro on mutual aid. Fort Walton, I haven't worked in a fire department where I didn't go to a civilian fire fatality. And if you give a shit about what we're here for, what we signed up for, is nobody else is coming. 1999, Salka did one of the top 10 best keynotes on a big stage at FDIC. I was on the front row. And, he said that there's nobody else to call for a fire. There's nobody else. We're it. There's nobody else coming. And we better be good at what we're doing. And, if we're going to throw 8 to 10 people at a 90-year-old in a fucking nursing home, then we ought to be throwing 8 to 10 people at a private dwelling where a 14-year-old might be trapped, or a 40-year-old or a 50-year-old that's got a good heart. Excuse me on using a 4-letter word. But at the end of the day, man, we got to take this stuff serious, because if we're going to get it below 2,000, we're going to have to do more than we've been doing, because we just keep regurgitating the same numbers. America Burning came out in the 70s, 8,000 civilian fire fatalities a year. We got it down to 3,000, and now we're hovering around the 2,500 mark. Well, when smoke detectors fail, we can't fail. It's our job to find them and remove them, give them solid BLS, and then upgrade to ALS and get them transported to the appropriate hospital for, smoke inhalation, burn victims, whatever the case, may be. But we got progress. Back in the 80s, I was a junior firefighter, and I'm not knocking them, but I sat in a class in the late 80s at Midway, where a Florida State Fire Marshal's office, a fire investigator for the Florida State Fire Marshal, was teaching the class going around the state of Florida, where they taught it that if you found a victim dead, unconscious, whatever term you want to use, to leave them for the investigation. How many of those people back then could we have pulled out, pumped on their chest, and they woke up and said, oh, my brother's still in there, So those are things. The grab back in January, the brothers, phenomenal job, man. It wasn't just one company. The brothers from Engine 11, 16, Squad 3, Engine 17, the whole battalion, the whole department, they're out there working, man. Guys running with suctions and BLS bags, and they're full bunker gear pumping. I'm not even a paramedic. I can't spell paramedic. I can't EMT. I don't know what that stands for, but they were pumping, and they told me there's like oxygen in your blood. I've heard that my whole life. That itself is going to make a big difference without, all the other fancy drugs and that sort of thing. So, we got to start doing things a little bit different. while not getting too far away from our foundational tactics.
Love it.
Hey, for those people listening right now, whatever viewers are still there, write this down. This is a code to save you $99 on one of the net on HROC or ODP. FHV 99. That stands for Firehouse Vigilance 99, $99 off. FHV 99. Scott Slocum's probably listening, so he'll probably post it up there. For whoever's watching right now, it'll be a code FHV 99 for $99 off, just for people giving up their time and investing and listening to my stupid ass rant.
Dude, I love it, Chief. Okay, I've got a lot of questions that are kind of along the same lines coming from the audience, and I'm just going to throw them all out. You can go anywhere you want with some of them, and believe me, they're not all the same questions. But basically, it's like we've got automatic nozzles, and we'd like to switch to 7/8. We've got how do you convince the admin that booster backup is worth implementing? You know, basically, it's a whole bunch of how do you implement change in your department. I know I'm guessing you're going to go with our Rob Fisher in how to implement change, but I'm throwing it at you. It's like basically the nutshell is how do you go about implementing the change that you're talking about, the change that you espouse?
Become a battalion chief where you get to be at fires and command what you do. And if, an SOG is what it is. It's a guideline. Make sure that when you become a fireground commander, or even a company officer, calling the first shots as a first or second company officer. And don't get yourself overboard. Make sure you read the Fire Stream Management Handbook by Fornell, William Clark's Blue Book from years ago, John Norman's book, and here's the deal. I was knocking this to give me 30 seconds. I'm going to grab something and see if it's my son's door's closed. I'm over here at the cottage of my son's, but in his room on his bookshelf, with some of Andy Frederick's stuff and some nozzles, I have an ISTA book in there that I had since I was a kid, the Fire Stream Management from ISTA. And there is good stuff in ISTA. So I had to reclaim that. I mean, there's solid stuff, but the problem is too many people get comfortable when they get promoted and they don't keep studying like you or, Rob Fisher, these other folks. I'm telling you, man, I don't stop reading. I'm reading all the time. I just bought the last books of Vincent Dunn and I'm going to, I've read one of them. I'm going to read the other one and I have read in every book he's ever written. When I'm doing a class, I'll read up on stuff, picking up the magazine. So what we need is more of these viewers you're watching, man. Take the time to study, and understand time in your tank and water consumption and hose lines and know how to get the most water efficiency, just like fuel efficiency in your truck. There's guys watching right now that went and bought some goofy ass air intake for their pickup truck to get 1 more mile to the gallon. I know there's somebody on here right now watching that did some goofy ass shit like that. Well, the same thing. Figure out how to maximize, your water supply. The 7/8s. I was having a conversation last night with Tim Klett, probably one of the best nozzle firefighters in modern history fire service. And I say that based on some big mentors and legends saying he's one of the best, working in some busy, companies and busy places in New York. And him and I were talking about the 7/8s and 15/16s. I'm a huge FDNY buff, man. I'm going to just say it. I think the FDNY is the best fire department in North America, hands down. I think it is for a lot of reasons. The leadership over the years, just, the things that they do, their SOGs, the ladders books. I mean, their culture of, company assignments and all that. And I didn't just go say, well, hell, I want to get a 15/16 because that's what FDNY does. I mean, I love the Houston Fire Department. Kevin Story's a personal friend. What a phenomenal guy. I went and did tests, listened to the Brothers in Battle or Fit to Fire podcast I got all my podcasts are under my bio on my website, but I talk in there and I give a full description of what the gallons per second evaluation is. I did it in the late 90s. And I wanted to evaluate nozzle reaction, stream reach, and flows, not for what the FDNY is working with, but what we're working with in the 850. The fire chief at the time, he's actually the deputy chief. He became the deputy chief in the summer of 1999. And he said, Ike, I want you to figure out what it is. You've been telling me about these smooth bores for the last 5 years. And we weren't even 2,000 yet, but they were about to hire the first 36 firefighters. And he said, you truly put your name on it and tell me what nozzle we need, and I'm going to buy it. But if it turns out to be wrong, I'm going to hold you accountable.
Right on.
And there are people in this country that fought for 15/16 tips, fought for them because they didn't do their homework or they didn't listen to the people that were evaluating. I know this happened in a bunch of places where they evaluated the 7/8 and 15/16. The 7/8 truly won, but they put blindfolders on. And then they got to fires where the 15/16 caused them problem because the pump operator wasn't up to speed and the pumping wasn't right and the hose didn't fit the nozzle and they had kinking issues. And, you got to know your flow. You got to, I did some videos years ago where I compared the 7/8 and the 15/16, both flowing the same pressure. And when we kink the line, same hose as the 7/8 as the 15, when we put the same exact size kink using a prusik cord on a 15/16 as we did the 7/8, the 7/8 flowed more water because that little bit of smaller tip created enough back pressure for the inner liner of the hose line, kept it open like the green grandma's garden hose, that it actually, the 7/8 flowed more water than the 15/16. So, we did things like that. I had a lot of, great firefighters helping me. So we did a significant hose and nozzle back. It was work. I mean, we got furniture that we piled in the drill tower. We were cranking them F500 smoke machines. I think we were burning like 20 gallons in 4 hours. We had them just wide open. We preheated the liquid fluid so when it went through the machine, the heater could keep up. And we did the gallons per second evaluation at a 2.5-story drill tower, and the 7/8 hit, man. And I can tell you, I do a lot of spectating. I spectate a lot of fires where I'm in charge, and I just haven't seen my guys that were a 7/8. If they broke the threshold, I'm telling you, they didn't have to back out. I might have called them out because the punker factor got me a little scary Mary-ish. And, they were, if I didn't back them out, to be honest with you, they probably would have won and put the fire out. But I haven't seen the 7/8 ever fail. I mean, now I pulled up on fires and I knew based on visually what I'm looking at that we need bigger than a 7/8. And it kicks ass, man.
Awesome.
You're talking about 150 and we under pump it most of the time. 150 at 50 or, it's 150 at 40 something, but you know what I'm saying? I like the throttle pump because we run 150 at 50s and 7/8, but we can, and I'll say this and then we'll move on to the next question. Write this down. This is a factual statement. 7/8 is the only smoothbore tip that I found that 100% is an effective selecto gallonage smoothbore. And I'm kind of making that terminology up myself, but for weapon selection, and you can look at the barrels, man. I love the barrels, and Spartanburg guys, man, they did them up. Them barrels are kick ass, but the 7/8, you can under pump it at 40 and you can over pump it at 60, and it's still going to give you the flow, the reach, and the nozzle reaction that's manageable for a 3 to 4 person engine company. You can't do that with a 15/16. You can't really do it with an 1.8 inch. You could argue you could do it with an 1 3/16, but I want to stay on, attack packages that are going into residential structures tonight. Focus on, that. So, a 7/8, man, I believe it. And it's not a slogan or whatever. I think it's the America's tip. And I say that because it's what's right for 75%. The FDNY, that's great. 15/16 has been working. I can't argue for 40, 50 years. But, even Chief Morris, it was Captain Bob Morris on Rescue 1, told me numerous times, came up to me in 2006, sitting on the front row when I was teaching on the floor at Firehouse World in San Diego. And Chief Morris said, I wanted the 7/8 in the 70s. In the FDNY, Chief Morris wanted them to go with the 7/8. And once they did, they just didn't change it. Captain Bob Morris went to Stanford, Connecticut, became the assistant chief. No bigger student in the fire service than him. Guess what he's using in Stanford? 7/8. So, I don't know. Just keep working at it, man. I like to use St. Johns County, Max and them guys down there. It took them 10 years to go from automatic selective gallonage to low pressure, high flow nozzles. It's worth the fight. Don't ever give up. There's plenty of articles out there you can Google, dating back to Veslings to, Camello, Daryl Liggins articles that back to the 90s. None of this stuff is new, man. None of it's new. What's new is old. What's old is new.
Right
it's
on.
really
Right on.
I mean, it's how my kids dress,
Yeah, that's the truth of it right there. I had a question here. No, Tank fired up Morris. Tank Morris said that they made a boost, and I lost your comment because again I can't keep up with them guys. But they basically made a booster tank attack on an industrial fire. 5 guys, 1 engine booster tank attack, and they basically kept it from becoming a major incident. Tell me if I'm wrong on the details of that. I want to say it was Tennessee, but I might have lost it. And then people were saying it was a bang up fire. So that's just one example. Another question I have that is, Chief, do you think everyone should be masked up and ready to clip in while en route, or does it create tunnel vision on arrival? What's your take on the masking?
Great question. In my opinion, it has changed over
Corey
years.
Summers, by the way. I just want to throw him out. Go.
Okay. So no, that's a great, and I tell you, man, I'm not as good as my dad, but I try to be half as good as my dad about being open and not being ignorant because I said, well, I wouldn't do that, and then changing. Things change. So I've never told my folks that they couldn't. So back when I became a battalion chief in 2004, my lieutenant on Engine 319 was Steve Booth. He actually, phenomenal battalion chief friend of mine. He's who I will relieve in the morning. He's a battalion chief the day before me. And he was a lieutenant on 319 with his 3 guys, and they kicked ass at fires, man, just workhorses. And I'm telling you, when Chief Booth now, but when Lieutenant Booth was on 319, dude, he didn't come off that rig without his mask on. And I didn't like it at first, but he just worked too damn hard at a fire for me to tell him he couldn't do it. I never told him he couldn't. A few times I told him, I said, man, if you're turning and going north, so when he pulled out his fire analysis, if he was turning left and I'm chasing you, just please think about maybe not having that mask on. But if you're turning right and I'm on scene first, man, if that's what you want to do, that's fine. And when we got to fires, man, we had to get it on it as quick as we could. There was 4 of them and me and 690 gallons of water. And we weren't laying it and leaving it. They were coming in and we were putting everything we had into maximizing 690 gallons. And so, my opinion on that's been back and forth. What I would say is I would rather my first due company officers that are going to arrive with nobody on scene, an engine company, Quint, whatever, they're going to pull up on a fire first. Nobody's there. I prefer them not to have their mask on. They can get off face to face to see somebody. They can smell what's going on outside. Their mask is not fogging up depending on what the humidity is and the temperature outside. And I don't want them to have a mask on telling they're definitely going inside, even though we're an all offensive until told otherwise. But the longer I do this, the more I do it, the more I'm okay with the second due company that with us, we've had a lot of civilian fire battalions, 23 civilian fire battalions in a little over a years ago. We don't go a year without them. So our department's seen a lot of people die in fires. And I would say most of the time, I think it's advantageous for a company coming in, arriving second, where there's already a rig there, stretching a line, fighting fire, probably should come off with their mask on for a fast attack residential fire, not commercial, where we know that it's worth the risk to put people in the building and we search and prove that nobody is inside. And I love that question because, I'm more for it now than I've ever been.
Right on. Dude, keep them coming, guys. I love the Weekly Scrap has the best audience and the best questions, man. It's fired up guys from the fire service. I always say mutts don't scrap, and I mean it from the bottom of my heart. So, Chief, I got another one here, and it's from Jordan Barnard. He said, Chief, how can I get my department to realize that our flow matters? Our department has combination nozzles, and a lot of our guys don't pump at the required pump pressure to get the flows we need, but they don't think it's a big deal because all of our fires have went out. I know it's a complacency issue, but I don't know how to find the data to actually show them that our flow matters.
Well, UL's there. The UL Fire Academy used the UL Interior Fire Attack Study, factual stuff to give to the ops chief, the training division, the fire chief. UL used 150 GPM. And I'll tell you, a court of law, 150 is what's going to be the answer in a court of law. And they call them whatever experts. I don't know how you become an expert in the fire service. I'm still trying to figure that one out. But if they find some expert, they're going to say 150. That's what's in the books. That's what's in all the articles. That's it. It isn't 185. It isn't 210. It's 150. So you find a way, and Elkhart will get you the flow meters. They'll get you the pitot gauges. They'll come in and help you, do some flow tests free of charge, but you got to do your own research too on reading those articles, that are out there on it, on weapon selection, the older articles. You know, the fire in Oakland. I mean, everybody should have to read the article that Jay Kamel and Daryl Liggins wrote back, I want to say 1999, you know, on the line of duty death there, you know, those things. And, you know, it's just, it's, you go back to Clark's book, the Blue Book. Chief Clark says, when you start applying water, if you don't see a difference in 60 seconds, your application rate is outgunned. You're underflowing. If you're flowing more GPMs and BTUs, you know, or megawatts of energy, then you're going to see results in 60 seconds. All you got to do is watch the Cobb County video, you know, up in Georgia with the UL. We're talking about they extinguished all that fire on that 2-story townhouse, highly combustible exterior, fires coming out the sliding glass windows. I put it on CF Tactics the other day. I videoed it when I was in the big room at FDIC.
I'm going to try and pull it up.
Put that damn, you pulling it up?
Trying to.
Here.
Trying to figure out where I hit it in here. I'm
less than 200 gallons. And, you know, that's what's cool about these UL burns, man, is it's real fuel packages, too. It's couches and beds. And, you know, they're putting it out quick because they're flowing the gallons per second. And I'll tell you, the national standard accepted flow rate is 2.5. There it is right there. 2.5 gallons a second. Let's watch this video. You can start it over, Corley.
I'll back it up.
So right here, this is 1 3/4 inches. That's not 185 gallons a minute. They measured it. UL measured it. 180. Look at that fire blowing out the first floor, blowing out the second floor. Is getting into the stoppage. This is a 2-story apartment, townhouse, condo. I don't give a shit what you call it. It's a place that people live in and die. And I know it's an exterior string, but this is that way you can visually see it. And they get up to that window, and that's aggressive firefighting. 185 gallons puts that out. You know what? If I pulled up on that first doing an engine, I'd probably use a 50-foot section of 2.5 and blitz it with a 2.5 just for the hydraulic power to blow them soffits out to get water in the attic. Well, a firefighter stretching 1 3/4 inches to go in the front door and get the closet fires, or what Ray calls the drywall, what you can't extinguish with an exterior stream reach. But regardless, this video was from last week in a multifamily building. And I mean, they got knocked down. It's not, I mean, that proves the power of our booster tank right there. Thanks for being able to pull that up too, Cordy. That's cool as shit. Ugh. And they're moving in just to mop it up, you know? And that's it. I mean, and I tell you, you know, going to fires in the late 80s, well, I was going to them growing with my dad, but riding a fire truck starting in 1988 and seeing what we were doing with our selector gallonage, where we dialed them up to just 125 on old plastic 1.5 inch hose, 1 3/4 hose, depending on what rig it was. You know, we didn't pump them real great. And man, we could keep a mobile home. We could keep a trailer burning for an hour. We could drop 10,000 gallons of water on it. But if you go to countyfiretactics.com under videos, the first video you see, the top video on countyfiretactics.com under videos, the first one, when you click on that videos part, that's a 20 seconds. In 20 seconds, I mean, literally flowing less than 5 gallons a second, about 100 gallons knocks down the end of that mobile home fire. That's where you're going to get more efficiency, faster knockdown with less water. It's just, you're not having premature vaporization because of an attack package.
Love it. You good with more questions?
Yeah.
All right, I'm keeping them coming. I got one guy, Chief Stephen McCaffrey. Stephen McCaffrey asked, Chief, how do you dance around the 2 outlaw while still being aggressive with putting water on the fire and committing people to search?
Man, 2 in, 2 out is just a cop-out for people. That's all it is. You know, at the end of the day, every house fire I've ever been to, man, I can show where I had a reason to believe somebody was in there, so that don't mean anything. 2 in, 2 out. And here's the deal. I could do an hour class on this question. We're not going to go down that, but, you know, chiefs don't read the whole U.S. Fire Administration rule on that. United States Fire Administration says 2 in, 2 out. If you're taking notes, write this down. 2 in, 2 out is IRIT, IRIT, Initial Rapid Intervention Team. It says in the U.S. Fire Administration that once your assignment gets there, your box alarm, your initial first alarm assignment, which, yes, is based on the AHJ, authority having jurisdiction, that you're supposed to have a 4-person RIT team. Nobody worries about that check in the box. You know, so hopefully that 2 in, 2 out is just faded away and that was some fad, because 2 out ain't never going to save 2 in no matter what. And I don't want to go down this, but I'm going to tell you right now, a RIT team, a RIT team, 99% of the time isn't going to do shit for a fireman when shit goes bad at a residential fire. You know why? Residential fires is a rapidly changing fire game. It's a flashover. Even if they're kick-ass, man. And I want to use Stephen Solomon in Atlanta. And what a great bunch of firefighters. Squad 4. Those guys are kick-ass company. They were in there to get Stephen Solomon out probably faster than any rescue's ever been made in the fire service. Those guys, boom, in there, had him out, got him in the back of the ambulance in a major city, and we still lost Stephen Solomon. Now, if he had a chance in the world of survival, Squad 4 gave it to him. The point is, the flashover is what it is, man. The chances of survival are so minimal. I mean, you almost got to be like the fire in Brooklyn from Rescue 2, where they're almost at a window, and they're out the window on their own on a ladder, and they were wearing gear like FDNY buys, where they actually give a shit and inspect the TP level at a rate that will give you enough seconds to survive. But most people are buying the minimum level they can get. The department don't even give a shit about the TP level. You got to balance that stuff out, and those are key. Those are key factor too. But they lost Captain Drennan on 62 Watt Street. So New York City is they make sure that they have a certain TP level that they're doing. So I don't want to get off on the 2 in, 2 out. And don't get me wrong. I'm not saying you shouldn't have RIT teams. I believe in RIT. I took the best RIT train-the-trainer course that exists in the American Fire Service at FDTN in Indianapolis. Hands down, the best RIT program. And I can tell you, I don't want firefighters entering a commercial occupancy without a sustained water supply and a 4-person RIT team and a bunch of other stuff. Because in a commercial occupancy, there's a higher possibility that not 2 in, 2 out, but 4 properly trained, experienced firefighters with the right tools, a RIT bag for an air transfill, a search rope, and they know how to use it. There's where a RIT team's going to save a life. When somebody's lost, disoriented, run low on air, maybe they're trapped or pinned. And I'm not saying it can't happen. I mean, I made up with this job. I can't say it without remiss because, I say something and people take me out of context. Dude, the rescues in Gloucester City, New Jersey. I mean, you don't know about that fire, read about it. Those are fires that any fire ground commander's got to study. As a chief, I got to know about Gloucester City. So when I'm standing in the front yard, sitting in my driver's seat of my chief's bugger at the back of it, and a damn building, God forbid, falls down on my men or women, I got to know there's a chance if we can get in there with cribbing, airbags, hopefully an extended, you spec'd out a longer hose on your RIT bag, and you can get them air. I mean, look at one of the calls in Worcester, not December 1999, but in a triple decker where we had one fatality and the other one was in the basement, and get down to them. So don't take me out of context. Yes, the RIT team has made some awesome rescues, but historically in the last 2 decades, most of our deaths on residential fires is death on the nozzle from rapidly changing fire conditions. So more importantly than worrying about 2 out is 2 more on that hose line flowing water, and not scared to flow water when you got thick black cotton candy pushing out that front door below the doorknob. You got to put water on black fire. You got to put water on that smoke because we can't afford for the enemy. And the enemy of today, write this down. The enemy of today and tomorrow is oxygen. That's what it is. Yeah, I mean, I go to too many fires. I study. Oxygen scares the shit out of me. Look at the San Francisco fire, Berkeley Way. They went in the front door. My watch just told me it had trouble hearing me. I must not be talking loud enough. I got to turn this damn. No shit, I swear my watch just said that. But Berkeley Way in San Francisco, our brothers' light smoke showing, they went in, and the windows, the sliding glass windows in the basement, as they call it. It was exterior, but it was a house on a hill. They failed in 1 minute, less than 2 minutes, and actually gave a slide. I think you got that slide. Can you pull that up, Corey? From Berkeley Way.
I don't know if I have that
and
one.
And I'm going to San Francisco for 4 days before the Andy Fredericks golf tournament in Angels Camp.
I don't think I have that slide, Chief.
Well, I'm going to send it to you real quick. But at the end of the day, we got to understand that fire in Berkeley Way is a minute or two. The window, nobody took it. The firefighters didn't break it. Just failed. We don't know when it's going to fail. And if you go to YouTube, awesome 12-minute video. You can teach yourself. Go to YouTube, just put House on a Hill line of duty death and watch that 12-minute video, and it will go over that fire to understand going like a flow path going down a hill or down a set of stairs, coming up a set of stairs, and you can't predict. I'm texting it to you now, Corley.
All right.
You can't predict when it's going to fail. You know, I wish we could, but it's like a milk jug upside down. When you open that cap, it's like opening the front door. Nothing, it's water blow, like smoke coming out. When the top of that milk jug gets a hole in it, or that window fails in the rear, or on the side, like the window being vented in Homewood, Illinois, Katie barred the door, baby. It's all off. The only thing that's going to stand between you and a flashover is water, the equalizer. And that's going to remove the heat before the oxygen combines with superheated, unburned fuel gases. And that's the only way that we're going to eliminate death on the nozzle while still lowering the number below 2,000 on a fire ground. That picture come through, Cooley?
It come through. I'm getting it pulled up now. I'm shifting it over.
So here's the deal. If you're writing this down, you got to go to YouTube and put in San Francisco LODD. You need to pull up the San Francisco Fire Department. Not NIST, not NIST. Those are good. Pull up the one that Chief Franklin and them did and read that damn thing cover to cover. It's the only way you can truly honor and remember those two brothers on Engine 26, and then watch the reenactment by NIST and what's going on. That's what we have to do. We can't not, take the time to research these, talk about them. These are fires that were booster tank fires on arrival, but unexpectedly a window failed. And it was a window in a basement that was open because it was a house on a hill. And now the initial attack point was, street level on the A side, and they opened it up. So now it's even worse. It's like opening the top of a chimney on the first part of it. There it is right there. Awesome. Thanks, Cordy. So look at this on this picture right here. I want you to look at the top left. 10 minutes and 58 seconds and 10 minutes and 10:58 and 21 seconds. I'll get that right. 10:58 and 49 seconds. Look at that, folks. Look at that. We're talking about like 30 seconds, like less than 30, 28 seconds. Shit was survivable in that house, and that window fails. And then you look at it, and about a minute later, less than 2 minutes, at 11:30. At 11:30, within 2 minutes, the place is roaring. And I showed this to you just for you to read the report put out by San Francisco. Listen to the 12-minute audio. Came out as a sparking outlet. Came out as a set of curtains on fire. And when you hear curtains on fire, you can't get complacent. You got to say, well, that's the 3 minutes and 40 seconds on the modern furniture. And if it's going to take me more than 3 minutes and 40 seconds from when the curtain's caught on fire, there's plenty of heat, fuel, and oxygen. It's a fire triangle. Don't tell nobody it's a new thing on fire behavior. Your shit's not going to be good unless you bring water with you and you're willing to use the water. You can't be scared to run out of water. We got to put water on the black fire, on the smoke. It's the biggest thing that we got to push as a whole on what we're doing on a fire ground.
Awesome.
I hope that answered his question. That was a little lengthy there.
That was beautiful. And you got to work the picture in. So you did send me that picture earlier. I didn't realize what the picture was, so I didn't put two and two together. So that's on me. Everybody, I'm getting questions. No, it's not Modelo. It's Miller Lite. I had my friend Adam Sullivan tell me that I didn't have to drink Michelob Ultra, which I think is a very watery beer now. But not the point. I've lost 15 pounds switching to the Ultra. He said that the Michelob Light tastes better and it's about the same calories. So that's my whole dietary upgrade. It's not scientifically based. It's on an opinion of a man I trust. So all that being said, there's the update there. Questions coming at you, Chief. And anything you want to go on, let me know.
Okay.
Question. Maybe my lack of knowledge or research, but how many line of duty deaths have you found where firemen have died on the nozzle while flowing the nozzle? It seems most of the line of duty deaths are related to lack of water, getting off the hose line, or not flowing while in declining conditions. What are your thoughts?
Here's the deal. We weren't in there. We don't know.
Right.
Homewood, Illinois, we don't know if they were flowing or not on that 2.5 and just all of them. But I've tried to study every line of duty death since November 25th, 2000 that involved a firefighter on a nozzle, the attack team, first due engine company specifically, type of thing, residential houses, if you will. I don't know of one where they were flowing water. All the signs, the information, photos, video, radio traffic, you just take that and you make a guess at it, but the thought process, the hypothesis, whatever you want to call it, is that all of them, they weren't flowing water when there was a flashover or rapidly changing fire conditions. And I tell you, just, from the stuff I've done, I can't say, but I would bet my life on it. In a residential compartment, even with hoarding conditions, I think it's almost impossible for it to flash over flowing 150 gallons a minute. Now, I want to say something I've never said before. I don't know how many people we got listening right now or watching, but the reality is we put out a shitload of fires with 80 gallons a minute, 100 gallons a minute, 125. I'm glad that we have a margin of safety, just like in special ops, it's a 15-1 on ropes. The reality is 150 is kick ass. And by no means am I advocating doing less than 150. What I am telling you is from what I've seen, what I've experienced, my study and reading, believing in everything that UL is doing, man, 150, if you're willing to open that bale and use it, I mean, it's almost impossible. I mean, and if you have a 750 tank, I mean, I'd like, and the viewers, I would say majority of the viewers use a 750 tank. There might be a few on here doing 500 or a Quint's 500, but most, when I travel, that's one of the questions I ask. I'm pretty confident that 75% of the fire service engine companies are running 750 tanks. Obviously some suburban apartments are running 1,000, but you think you can make a swimming pool in a 3-bedroom, 2-bath house with a 750 tank almost. Yeah. What you can extinguish with 2.5 gallons a second coming out of an 1 3/4 inch is just off the chart. It's crazy the amount of fire you can extinguish.
Love it. Hey, I have something here, which is Lawrence Wadsworth brought it up, and there's the Pipeman podcast from Brothers in Battle. They just put out episode 2, I believe. It was episode 0 and episode 1, but episode 1. But anyway, he talked about that a room can't flash if the floor is soaked with water. And I'm hearing a lot more about this, the floor being soaked with water and the effects it has on fire dynamics. Thoughts on that? What have you heard? Your experiences?
And actually, that video you just showed, actually near the end of it, if I didn't cut it off, Dennis talks about water has value on the floor. I can't say it eloquently, but yes, there's a value to water on the floor. We've always been told to sweep the floor, whether it's because of hypodermic needles, keep from burning our knees. The FDNY back in the 90s put out a poster. They hung it in their firehouses. It's hanging at ladder 12 on a wall about sweeping the floor. And engine back in, I don't know if they still do, FDNY, the engine knee pads, they had knee pads to keep their knees from melting on the carpet of their stairs as they were doing an event. So yes, there's value to water on the floor. We, the fire service, should not be worried about when the fire's extinguished, having water on the floor, whether it's an inch of water, whatever it is. Yes, there's value there. But don't get so consumed with that you're going in, sweeping the floor nonstop. You still got a water map off of that ceiling, whether it's plaster, tongue and groove, sheetrock, whatever it is, and get that water mapping. And it's a great video that on Brass Tacks Hard Facts. And that's what we're going to do on Water on the Fire week after next is UL's building that water mapping prop. And there is a lot for us to make progress on teaching our Nozzle firefighters how to maximize, specifically an 1 3/4 on an interior residential fire attack to not only prevent flashover, but have a more rapid fire attack. And I think moving into next year, I think we need to get a resurgence of hydraulic ventilation. I think that, when I said we need 6 below 6 firefighters on a fire ground in less than 6 minutes to really get that number as high as it can go, that's going to involve the coordinated fire attack of getting water on the black fire, cooling and burning solid fuels, 2 people assigned to a search. And then when you get to the room of origin, whether it be a smoothbore will do hydraulic ventilation. We got to bring hydraulic ventilation back to the forefront on the fire ground based on what we're seeing in the coordinated fire attack studies, understanding modern fuel packages and how they're affected in today's construction and yesterday's construction with today's, furnishings.
Love it.
Hey, and if you don't drop now, we're going to show the ladder 12 grab video here in a little
absolutely,
while.
absolutely.
The people before water.
I'm trying to, I mean, again, there's so many comments. There's tons of conversations, people responding to their questions, answering questions, having conversations about videos and techniques. Brian Schwab said the water is free, flow water. You can dry shit out, but you can't unburn it. And he's quoting
right.
Chief Ike. So there you go.
No, it's the truth, man. I think that's the most important thing I tell when I teach somewhere is you can dry shit out, but you can't unburn it. We got to get rid of worried about water damage. That's the most stupidest, absurd thing I've ever heard of. Firefighters burn up in fires. They don't drown. Is there some anomalies? A training chief in Binghamton, New York drowned 30 or so years ago. And we do need to honor and remember those incidents. And there was an accountability thing there where he'd responded from home. And so I try to study those, keep them in the back of my mind and know about it. But I got to go with the majority of what happens on a fire ground. The highest probability is your ass is going to get caught in a flashover if you're crawling around in low visibility, zero visibility, high heat conditions. And we got to get better at teaching our firefighters what saturation rate is. We got to teach them when they come off the rig and it's 45 degrees outside or their cab is 72 degrees, that when they break that threshold of a superheated environment, every second that they're in that superheated environment, their gear is saturating and getting hotter. It's like a piece of paper in an oven that you crank up to 550 degrees. The hotter that piece of paper gets, that if you were to throw a lighter to it, the faster it's going to auto ignite. And so that regardless of what your TP level is, you're inside a building doing a search operation and it shit's hot and the engine company's not cooling it down. When something goes bad in 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 minutes and it flashes, your chance of survival in number of seconds is going to be less than if it would have happened 30 seconds after you entered that environment. And we're not teaching that in rookie schools. No. We've got to get a nationally accepted beyond minimum standards program that teaches folks within the first year after they get on the job. Recruit schools is not enough. And what I'm seeing around the country is that's the new norm, is fire departments are teaching their recruit schools or rookie schools. They're giving them the bare minimum. And then we're not packing in within their first year a beyond minimum standards program that's going to get them some of the stuff we're talking about tonight. And it's got to be extensive, man. It probably should be, 120, 168 hours. The next best thing is if you got a training budget, man, send them to Jim's place, FDTN. Oh, yeah. There is no better place than FDTN in Indianapolis. Look it up. Hopefully you or Scott can put a link up. That is the ultimate. County Fire Tactics, what we do in Pensacola Beach, man, it wouldn't put a pimple on a boar's ass compared to what they can do in Indianapolis at FDTN for real-world training. And while we got a spot here, I want to put out one of my announcements. We've been putting out different ones. I got to put it out there. It's been over a 10-year dream. Jessica and I went today to Pensacola Beach, met with Misty, the head banquets lady. We signed all 5 contracts for next year. And they started a parking fee at the Hilton. And the Hilton agreed with us. They eliminated still $0 for parking, $99 hotel rooms for 3 out of our 5 conferences, and just unbelievable rates. Next year, we're going to do the whole year with the wristbands again. Because if you don't know, man, inflation, it's a real word. Inflation's real. And that's the reason why next year we're probably going to be our last year we're definitely not going to do 5. But next year is the last year that we're going to have the 5 conference series, the last year for the CFT 100. But I'm excited to announce that confirmed today, I signed the paperwork that we're locking those in so you can get that same quality training for the price you've been getting in the past. We're not going to stop. We're going to continue till the end of next year, till December 2022 with those free shuttles with Dreamcatcher. And here's the big one. The first part of 2023. The first part of 2023. And that's the first year that we're not going to do all 5 conferences. I'm waiting on the Hilton. I asked the Hilton to get with all the properties out there. I want them to pick the week that is the most affordable for you, the conference attendee. But we're going to do the fire conference. That's going to be the title. And people can make fun of it, but that's what it's going to be called. The fire conference on Pensacola Beach. It's going to be over 1,000 people. It's going to be our first conference where we're going to have 5 different options simultaneously. So you might be in one room, for the whole week doing the ODP program. You might be up on a second floor in a different room, doing a beyond minimum standards back to the basics. You might be in another room all week doing water on an advanced 40-hour water on the fire. From nozzle to running the pump to hydrants, that sort of thing. And man, it's going to be cool. We're gonna use all 3 hotels, and we're going to make sure that we have multiple, up to possibly 5 hotels with rates starting at $99, and possibly some of the hotels under $99 with the free shuttle. And we're going to do some crazy deals like opening at $99 for X number of attendees. Wow. And just keeping the price crazy. You'll fly in on Sunday or drive in on Sunday afternoon, leave on Saturday morning, 40-hour The Fire Conference with everything from the Recruit Beyond Minimum Standards program to the Fireground commanding from the sidelines. And, it's going to be wintertime. We're going to work on getting a band every night.
Nice.
So, man, and this might be the only time I ever do it.
Right.
But since we're done next year, it's our last time to do the 5 conferences. I want to do something big and blow it out of the park and say I did it. People have heard me say for years, I've always had this weird goal that in the winter I wanted to break 1,000 firefighters on Pensacola Beach. And it's got to be done in the dead of winter when all the hotels are vacant.
Right.
We can occupy them. It's easier to just make it happen. And it's cheaper. We can get crazy deals, man. And that way, when a firefighter's coming to leaving their family for 6 nights, I got to get them hotel rates below $100. They split it with somebody. It's $50 a person a night.
Right.
That's $300 a person for a week of lodging. Possibly they get in early. It's going to be $99 or $199 to register. Free shuttle, no parking pass. And, it's going – and this February coming up, the CFT Fire School this February, which we're giving a free pass away tonight, that's going to be a little practice. It's kind of – it ain't going to be like the Fire School in 2020, but that's kind of tweaking it. And that's the one where anybody listening, if you're interested in teaching at CFT Fire School in February, just send me your class title, a description, your bio. Just email it to me. But I want to try to give people, I want to promote other training companies. I'm not in competition with anybody. And I want to give some people a chance that haven't had a chance the last 10 years to be on the stage and teach at Pensacola Beach and just, share the message. So that's just one of our big announcements.
Huge, man. That is huge. 1,000 people on Pensacola Beach. Here's what I'll say. If you've never made it to Pensacola Beach or Pensacola for CF Tactics Conference, then you are missing one of the gems of the fire service, one of the gems of the modern fire service. That's all I can say. The fellowship, the conference, the knowledge, the reps, everything about it. So anyway, I'm obviously a fan. But a couple of things. Insight Fire Training, Chief Andy Starnes. He does a lot of videos he posts on his Facebook page. Check it out because Chief Ike talked about saturation. He posted one, I think it was today, maybe yesterday, that was just a beautiful visualization of why you should open the nozzle because of the saturation going on with bunker gear. Jeremy Greist asked a question about elaborating on hydraulic ventilation with the smoothbore. If you go to the study of the impact of fire attack by UL, interior exterior streams on firefighter safety, they did a lot of data on the CFMs, the cubic feet per minute that different nozzles move. And that's
based on flow too, flow matter.
Yes, yep. And moving that nozzle.
And here's the deal, Curt. I got to say this, man. I don't want to be rude to anybody that's watching. Don't be lazy, man. Like, the one thing I hate is when somebody emails me, and I make my phone number available to everybody. So, I'm on my own, I cause my own problems. But I hate it when somebody emails me or texts me and wants me to talk to them, and they want me to do the work for them. I've been, do the work for yourself. This stuff's out there, man. You don't have to have a library. I took my mom's prayer closet, and I turned it into a library. It's got bookshelves on both sides. You got to get you a library of books. You got to read, man. The general in his book talks about basically if you don't read a gazillion books, you're an idiot. There's a lot of truth to that. I mean, you have to read. You have to educate yourself. Most powerful education is being self-educated. Don't get me wrong. All the other stuff is great. You got to be reading. You got to be studying.
Love it. No, Mad Dog Mattis. Yeah, yep. I forget. I'm trying to think of his quote, but yeah.
I don't even try to say it because I would just screw it up.
No, he does. He's like, if you don't read, you're basically an idiot. And that's Chief Ike's version. So absolutely. Okay, Chief. I'm looking here. I'm trying to see if I'm missing any good questions to throw at you.
You want to just get the people before water?
You ready to hit it?
Let's do it. Because we don't want to be here till 1 o'clock.
That's true. It's all complete. I got to interview new hires tomorrow. So Pulling up.
And here's the deal. I don't know if Scott's still on. He can post the link. But back in May, I'm fortunate enough. I have a column every May and November. I have a column in the front half of Firehouse magazine. Thanks to Peter Matthews. I'm very blessed to be, get to teach at FDIC, teach at Firehouse. And, Harvey Eisner gave me my first shot at teaching at a nationally recognized conference. I don't know what it's been, 16 years ago, whatever it was. I think I'm young now. I was young there, and I got to teach in Baltimore. But to get to write for Firehouse magazine twice a year is just a blessing. But back in May, I wrote an article, People Before Water. Please read it. I challenge you to read it. I challenge you to read my article last November of 2020, Depth on the Bench, referring to, your staffing, the capabilities. I truly, a lot of you probably never heard of it, little town called Tuscaloosa down in South Alabama. And I know a lot of you from around the country, but I got a coach called Nick Saban. Probably never heard of him, but Nick Saban coaches in that little town of Tuscaloosa. And when he goes to a ball game and they're losing at halftime, the Roll Tide fans, the Alabama fans know come fourth quarter, they're going to probably win because their second string is good as the first string. So the other team might be beating them, but once the other opponent gets a couple of players hurt, their bench, the depth on their bench can't keep up with the depth on the bench at Alabama. And I say that with my son going to the University of Florida, but it's the truth. And that relates to strategy as a fireground commander. The only difference is there is nobody to sit on a bench on a fireground. Everybody's got to be top notch. Everybody's got to be good. And I believe in this, people before water. Now, as we get into it, remember, why does big cities have two companies in the same firehouse, an engine and a truck? And I want everybody to think about this. In a big city, downtown, wherever it is, Chicago, Atlanta, they put an engine and a truck. The 16s, the 22s, the 17s, the 33s, the 29. When you say that, you're referring to it's a dual house. They're doing that, folks, because in an urban city, they know when there's a fire in a populated urban city that they got to have not just an engine with 3 or 4 people. They need an engine with 3, 4, or 5 people, a truck with 3, 4, or 5 people, getting there simultaneously to do engine and truck work. So, yes, in that case, the second due engine can catch a hydrant. Probably if they got an engine and truck pulling up, they're going to have a minimum of 6, if not 8, 10, or 11, depending on if it's New York, to Atlanta. Atlanta might have 3 on the engine, 3 on a truck, just to use a city from the South. So Atlanta with an engine and truck is going to have at least 6. New York's going to probably have as many as 12. So when an engine and truck gets there, they got enough to stretch a line and enough to do a simultaneous search. That's 6 in under 6 minutes, getting a line stretch, doing a search with 6 people. But when we get to a county fire department, a suburban fire department, a rural fire department, and I'm talking about specifically our bread and butter residential fires, we can't afford to let the second apparatus, I don't care if it's a rescue, a truck, or an engine, but if that second rig, even if it has supply hose, and I'm not talking about a 4,000 square foot mansion fully involved. I'm talking about 1, 2, 3, 4 rooms of fire where you have the potential for somebody to be trapped because life before property. And we can't put running out of water as a priority over a search operation. It's just BS. It's unacceptable. And we got to stop doing this. Now, you got to do what your fire department tells you to do. But I truly believe that if we can get the fire departments running one apparatus out of a firehouse with 4 or less people, if we can get them at their bread and butter house fires to let that second rig come straight in for a booster backup, feeding the line, and getting people before water, meaning people before a hydrant, maximize 1 or 2 tanks of water, not to full extinguishment, to knock down a fire, control the fire, get a line between what's on fire, what's not on fire, and do a simultaneous search. We're going to make more grabs. We're going to make more saves, on the fireground. And the key thing is time in your tank. Here's the deal. Yes, you do have to do a little research. How long, based on your tank size, can you flow water nonstop with an 1 3/4, your 1 3/4 attack package? Then how long can you flow with your 1 3/4 attack package with your first and second rig based on those tank sizes? Is that enough time if you pull up, open the nozzle, never shut it down based on your jurisdiction, time, travel, distance for the third rig to get there? For me, 90% of the times, it's a yes. And that's with a very spread out, very diverse county response territory. And it works. I didn't just accidentally do it. I've been pushing it since the 90s. When I first went to a scammy, they didn't embrace it in 2000. And then I started calling the shots and we started doing it. I had other battalion chiefs that didn't agree with it. And then it became policy. It's an SOG. It's what we do. And yes, we've had a bunch of grabs where if the second due rig would have stopped at a hydrant, yes, those seconds would have mattered. And it's not just the time of stopping. It's the fucking hose line laying down the street that you got to navigate around. Or when you get there, that second due rig can't squeeze past, get in front of the first rig. It tactically changes the response, movement, the mojo, the thought process, the strategic deployment when hose is coming off the back of the rig. This isn't theory for me. It goes against how I was raised. I did 9 years in a fire department. So you there listening, well, he didn't know what he did. I did 9 years in a fire department. I rode on the back of an engine where we went to a 900 square foot shotgun house and a second due rig had to stop at a hydrant that's 300 feet away. And I'm getting off the rig and I almost got ran over multiple times. Why? Because the third due rig was coming around us. When we could have just gone straight in. Now we don't have to worry about navigating and laying and rigs. It does come down to an apparatus position placement deployment model. And mine's not theory. It's from going to a shitload of fires and seeing what works. You ain't got to like me. You don't have to. But I don't care. It's about making more successful grabs. Let's move into the video, Cordy. Let's watch it.
All right. I'm gonna hold you up and have you do I blame Todd Edwards mainly, but I'm gonna do a quick break for myself. And
okay, real quick. Since you're taking a break,
yes, I want you to hit it. Go ahead.
You're gonna take a break and I'm gonna talk.
Yes. I'm leaving you in
I was
charge.
gonna have you play a video.
I'll come back and start the video and give me 2 seconds. Everybody, this is the intermission. And so if you need anything, we're going to be back. We're going to hit the video. We got the ladder 12 grab coming up. Chief, take it away. I'll be right back.
When he gets back, he'll play the video. So this is the grab in end of January. Ladder 12 makes the grab, but not just them. Engine 16 got there first. And I want to tell a little backstory on this. It's a weekday, 10 o'clock in the morning. Pretty significant hands-on training is going on in an acquired structure. That it's on the border out of the district. So engine 17 is out of pocket. That would have been the first due rig. They're out of pocket. Squad 3's out of pocket. And engine 16 relocated to engine 17's Firehouse. So they're sitting in the apparatus bay in the rig when it pops up on the MDT on the CAD. Pulse point is a big factor for us, man. I tell you, pulse point has kept a lot of fires smaller because of our folks getting a jump on it 30, 60, 90 seconds quicker. But engine 16 arrived first, and we're going to watch the video, but engine 16 arrives first with 3 people: driver, officer, nozzle, firefighter. Pull up, heavy fire out the A side, carport, and D Delta side, 220 power feeds popping, beeping. Literally, the bystanders in the neighborhood around the street across, they thought somebody already called. Guy's driving down W Street, sees heavy smoke. Curious, turns off, pulls up, sees a house on fire. He told us. He called 911, but he thought, I'm just calling. Everybody else has already called. But he called. Thank God he called because nobody else had called in the neighborhood. Middle of the day, blue skies, beautiful. He called and assumed nobody was inside based on the neighbors. No cars in the driveway. He calls 911. 16 pulls up, rapidly pulls a 1 3/4 attack line. The nozzle firefighter, as soon as he gets water, he's using the stream reach, waiting for him to get a pump pressure. The only problem is that they realize they're under a power feed that's about to drop, so that delays it a little bit. They kind of got to move the rig up. The second due rig coming in is ladder 12. It could have been an engine. It doesn't matter. It's got 5-inch hose to lay a supply line. The only negative is it coming in second, we're not going to use the aerial, is that it only has 500 gallons instead of 750. So when they get there, we're going to have 750 plus 500. That's 1,250 gallons of water. I want to tell you something. 500 water cans. Write that shit down. A 750 booster tank backed up by a 500 booster tank from a Quint 1,250, 500 water cans. People are going around the country just jumping up and down about how awesome water cans are, right? Well, your booster tank, how many water cans does it have? So let's roll the video.
Okay.
Crank the volume up on it, and we'll roll it until I get there and I get out of my car, and we'll talk about it a little bit. You can pause it.
Make sure I'm pulling up the right screen. Give me 1 second.
And this video is available on countyfiretactics.com under videos, you pull down. And man, the website's so much better since Scott Slocum took over it. But you go to countyfiretactics.com, click on videos at the top. It's better to do it on a computer instead of your phone. Click on videos and scroll. It's the last video. It'll say ladder 12 grabs. There it is on the website. It'll show my radio console.
Are you ready?
Yep. Crank the volume up. Turn the volume up so you can hear everything. Oh, it's fucking going. Yeah, it's going.
Second street on your left.
All you, Chief.
One is directly south at the intersection of Scott and Y. Second hydrant north.
Yeah, smoke in the neighborhood. She's giving us the hydrant location.
And Y.
Look at the smoke in the air. I can smell it right now in my window crack.
One directly south at the intersection of Scott and
you
Y
pause it for a
Street.
second, Corley?
One hydrant north.
Just let it buffer and catch up for a second. All right, so right now, 16's on scene. They're just starting to stretch. Heavy fire in the kitchen, dining room, living room, going down the hall. It's in the attic. It's penetrated in the kitchen above the tongue and groove, and it's in the attic of probably, I don't know, an 80, 90-year-old wood frame house. Go ahead. You can play it again, Corley.
At the southwest corner.
You can get some pictures and video.
And Y.
Battalion to Escambia. On scene, assuming command.
Battalion 2 on scene, assuming command.
No cars in the driveway. Everybody thinks everybody's out. What?
Okay, that's
He's
fine.
just telling me he's getting away from that power feed. They pulled up parts, so they stretch the line. They're just getting it out from under that 220 coming.
Third due engine,
towards the
third due
Alpha
engine, you're
Delta.
gonna lay a supply line. Command a third due engine, you're gonna lay a supply line.
There it is. I'm calling. Third due for supply. And if you're taking notes right now, write that down. I'm not saying don't get a hydrant. Third due for supply. Get the first 2 rigs there to get at least 6 people on the fire ground less than 6 minutes to attack the fire with a simultaneous search. Third due for supply. Now, that 1 3/4 is already flowing water. They're going to hit it with a straight or solid stream, and they're going to shoot it to the windows to knock it down. And that's not because we're doing 2 in, 2 out. We need water to create and maintain survival space. Now, we all know watching this video, we've got an occupant trapped in the back of this house. Now, we don't know where because everybody thinks it's vacant. We got to assume that it's, for me, the front of the house, the daytime space, it looks to be fire floor to ceiling. So I got to assume the survivable space is, the probability is going to get higher and higher as I get to the rear of the structure. So let it knock my water over. So I know that we need to immediately fast attack off the booster tank, get solid water on solid fuels. Now let's go ahead and play it, and you'll hear the second new company come in.
Which way? On Y Street?
Ladder 12 to command, we're coming from the south.
Understood. Just nose into engine 17. Escambia, we got water on the fire. 1 3/4 stretch. It's going to be a front A and B side, 2 to 3 rooms of fire. Probably about 2,000 square foot. Ladder 12, nose in. Have your driver do booster backup. Ladder 12, go to the rear for search. Ladder 12, Charlie side for the search.
All right, go pause that. So they're now about to move in to this side door here. They've knocked down the porch. They got that. They're going to move in here to control the fire. Now think, if we assign 2 people to follow them in, how long is it going to take them to navigate the dining room, kitchen, maybe hoarding conditions, maybe a hole in the floor since it's off grade on part of it in the front there? The times that we got to attack the fire head on, hit it in the throat, punch the shit out of it, and get people getting in windows, back doors, side doors, opposite the advance of a hose line. We've got to think and change a little bit how we do stuff. Now, I'm going to tell you, and I teach in the class, in a textbook, in a foundational textbook, where would we say, and I teach this, that's where you need chiefs that are strategically changing based on arrival sequencing, who the people are on the rigs. A lot of people would say the next rig needs to assign at least one, if not two more people to that attack line, so we have a properly staffed attack line to push in through the pinch points. But I know, based on going to a lot of fires in these buildings, that Lieutenant Halterman and the firefighter on the Nozzle are going to get that job done efficiently and effectively, and I can have ladder 12 go through a back window or a side window to search that possible survivable space for anybody else. So we can go ahead and roll it. And I want you to watch how fast ladder 12 is running down that Bravo side.
Engine 11, Matt.
Engine 11, catch that hydrant. Squad 3, come straight in. Squad 3, straight in. Squad 3, straight in. Engine 11, catch a hydrant.
Squad 3 still north of Fairfield.
Now, I messed up and I'm giving out assignments based on if everybody was at their station. Shame on me. I misread looking, who's coming. I knew they were at training. So I just go to enough fires with them. I'm thinking it's supposed to be 17, squad 3, ladder 12, engine 11. And so my numbers there a little bit. So when you hear that, that's the deal. And that's where it's critical, whether you're a first two company officer or me as a chief, know when somebody's coming out of sequence based on medical calls, out of service, training. And Chief Brunacini, decades ago, the FDNY in the 70s made sure, even with duct tape, they would put the numbers on the side of a rig, the front of a rig, or back of a rig when they're on a reserve rig, because that matters. In a minute, I see a rig coming around a corner. I think it's Squad 3. Squad 3's Firehouse is a mile up the road. Because it's a brand new rig, I'm thinking it's Squad 3. Squad 3 and Engine 11's only 2 of 3 rigs in the whole county that are brand new rigs. And those are little mistakes. Didn't cost me or cost us on the fire ground here, but it could. And, every fire, there's something we can learn. After this fire, I was making notes to myself of what I did wrong and, where I'm making mistakes. Luckily, it didn't cost, us any injuries, didn't delay water in a fire, didn't delay a search. But it does make the radio traffic a little bit confusing. But what's critical is I told second due company, search, get to the rear of the building, because I know it's important. Even though we're told nobody's in there, it's the middle of the day, no big deal. We got to search occupiable space. It's got to be a part of your culture. It's got to be that your folks know that's what they're going to do based on conditions and just based on how you're fired to operate. So you can go ahead and play it.
Down. Squad 3, come on down. Squad 3, ease past and get to the north side of the incident.
Chief, you're not seeing us.
Oh, that's engine 11 in. Engine 11, pull over to the right, just past the driveway. Pull up, and we're going to backfeed on a second booster tank.
That 12's already nosed in to engine 16 there. They're going to drop a feeder line from ladder 12. That's what the driver, Angel Santana, he's going to do that. That's a key factor. He's been water. Now, once he drops that tank into 16, he's not a damn, it's in a driver's convention. His ass is going to gear up and be another firefighter on the fire ground, because the first dude driver, Peppered, he's going to handle that. He's going to handle that himself. We got to divide and conquer. Task saturated, understaffed. We got to be Johnny on the spot. Now, engine 11, you're going to see them pull up. They don't catch a hydrant. I changed it up a little bit because now, in a minute, you're going to hear them on the radio. I don't know if they said it yet, but ladder 12 is going to say, we got somebody. And I'm not going to ask him a bunch of questions. I'm not going to talk to him. You watch. I'm not even going to say a lot other than now I'm going to back up the grab. I'm going to have engine 11 stretch a vent inner search line, a RIT line off engine 11. Now listen up, folks. This is unorthodox. So I want, because we're all in. It's worth the risk. We're pumping our people into a burning building with add-ons, right? This is add-ons. I've had 2 fires on this exact street in the same block. I got one of them on video. I want engine 11 to stretch a line off of their rig because it's separate from the attack line. So it's a virgin tank, 750 gallons. It's a separate pump, and they're going to stretch to the point of entry, VES. And I think, as Rob Fisher, I hope he's still listening, I think on a national level, from Brothers in Battle on the West Coast, CF Tactics, to the training companies on the East Coast, we need to start in our lectures, at our conferences, maybe not always, but we need to be teaching the American firefighters to consider, when possible, an 1 3/4 RIT line, attack line, a flow path eliminator line to the vent point ignition, because when they go in that window and they find somebody unconscious in a hallway, which is what they do at this fire, rolling across the ceiling. Now, if that attack line fails or has too many rooms of fire and they go one direction and the other direction, the fire's coming down a hallway, where does it want to go? Out the window that ladder 12 vented. You've created a flow path. Well, if they're dragging somebody, zero visibility through hoarding conditions, climbing over furniture, they got rescuer attachment. It's my job as a fireground commander to not bother them and let them do what they need to do, what they want to do, what they train to do. Get a line to that window, get into that room, and they're trying to get that victim up over the window, over some furniture, over some clothes, that we got that line. If you've been in my classes, I always use one that's got a straight stream off the ceiling, water mapping like a sprinkler head on steroids. Now we can hold that fire in check while we finish the rescue, and we don't have to abandon the rescue. So we need to think, I'll leave it at this just to size it up. The American Fire Service needs to consider at least telling folks when doing a VES, if you have intelligent firefighters on a fire ground, we might need a flow path eliminator line just for if we're going to jump off in this and get a little more aggressive. So you can go ahead and play it, Corley.
Get over to the grass to the right side and rapidly back stretch a 3 inch to 16 on the officer side.
Ladder 12 command. We're VESing the Delta Charlie window.
Understood.
There's
Engine
ladder
11
12. They're telling me they're
officer
VES.
And Nozzleman, stretch a line off of your rig. Stretch a 150, engine 11 off of your rig.
Worried about that couch in the front porch. That's Mickey Mouse stuff. You're worried about getting inside the occupiable space.
Three is going to be on scene.
Squad 3 on scene.
Hey,
Squad 3, just turn a corner and your back stretch off the rear of your rig with the flat.
Just stop right there, Squad 3. Stop right there.
There. Here comes the commander, got a victim. There's a trailing window. Copy, got a victim on the Charlie window. Badgery, go to the rear to help with the rescue. Badgery, go to the rear.
Pause it.
Take that line to the rear.
All right. So if you look at, they entered it at basically 3 o'clock. They vent entered search the window, and in less than 60 seconds from entering the window at the rear of the structure, they've located an occupant. Now, I want to go over this. This is critical. When ladder 12, when Jeff Fangman entered the window, Lieutenant Mills stayed at the window as the officer, managing the entry point, timing, talking on the radio to me. So he calls me in less than 60 seconds from getting in the window. Fangman searches the room, dresser in the center of the room, just stuff everywhere, searches the room, lights out, can't find nobody. That's when he went beyond the door, which is what we got to do. It's no different than going through the front door of a house and doing a left or right hand. We got to stop this bullshit about vent, enter, isolate, search. It's always been vent, enter, search. The shutting the door is always been a part of any training I've ever had dating back to the mid 90s. The reality is though, more times than not, there ain't no shutting the door. The door was open. The top half of it's burned off. It's on damn hinges that don't work. This one had carpet that was all rolled up. I mean, I don't know. Some of these people must just work in Mr. Rogers' neighborhood. But the fires I go to, it ain't always hunky-dory and perfect and, doors swinging and locking and latching, like yours might. So there's no shutting the door. He gets out in the hallway. I mean, the fire, it was probably 400 degrees, 3 feet off the floor, but he's laying flat on the floor, gets him back into the room and out the window. But key thing, when ladder 12, and this is to the chiefs listening, when ladder 12 called me and said, we got a victim, I didn't call him back and how big is he? Where is he? What you coming out? Those guys are trained. They know what they're doing. All I'm going to do is say, copy, I got it, so he didn't waste any more time. And now I'm going to reinforce the rescue. Immediately, I see one of our guys that's acting officer. Hey, you get to the rear of the building and back them up. Because I know they're going to need it. This isn't, it's going to be harder than training. So get more people. And then I'm going to order that engine 11 a line around there. So little things, because I do think that we can up our game on vent enter search training to a level that will make it even more effective than what Brush's numbers, which is a 25% success rate on the numbers he has for VES. So you can go ahead and roll it.
Rear to building car below, sir. Immediately. Take it to the rear. Help myself.
Look, real quick. See these guys running? All right, pause it. Don't tell me you can't run on a fire ground. Somebody's dying. And on top of that, our brothers are working their ass off trying to get a large guy. Now, most of the time you see me at the back of my Chiefs buggy. I hadn't moved. I hadn't done anything. I'm trying to get my gear on. I'm the only Chief there. You know, here's the deal. If I can get my gear on and it does not mess up my command ability from the back of my vehicle, if another Chief shows up that's in civilian clothes and there's a mayday, a collapse, or an explosion, they don't have their gear on, I have mine, I'll pass command. Now I'm the ops chief. I'm going to be the RIT chief. I'm going to be the rescue chief. And I know that if I'm geared up and that happens, I'm going to be able to reinforce and help, you know, my guys, showing them that, hey, we can do this, provide a little bit of confidence, a little bit of leadership. Now, first time I showed this video, somebody said, hey, why'd you walk over and touch the hose? And I'm going to tell you why I walked over and touched the hose. As soon as I walked over and touched the hose, what's the momentum going to be of anybody that sees me touching the hose? They know that's more powerful than me yelling at them. That's like, hey, you know what? The chief thinks this is important. We got to get it. It's going to up that momentum. And that's the psychological aspect of a command. Just like special ops. I said it the other night. I'm teaching at the Syracuse Heavy Rescue Conference, and special ops or command of special operations is a mindset. You can have all the special ops training in the world and you can still suck at it. I've seen a lot of people got their, I don't know what you can call it, special tech 4.5, and I can dangle upside down with a shoestring, and I can do I think a 10 to 1 on a piggyback upside down with a 2 pets LODD times 2. All them, you know what? I mean, I get all that stuff. They still suck. They don't know shit at 2 o'clock in the morning when a fucking guy's bleeding out and he's dying and grabbing your wrist and saying, don't let me die. You better have your ass mentally prepared for time compressed decision making, like Dr. Klein tells us in his book. So let's go ahead and roll it, and look at everybody. Even the driver with his headset on is making that line. Get it to the rear.
EMS ASAP to the A side.
Telling the Scambia or dispatch,
The south side, we're sending them in.
we got a rescue, need EMS ASAP.
Viable victim.
Scambia.
Go ahead, command.
Go ahead and send me 2 more companies. Ladder 12's located a victim to the Charlie side. We got a line in the front. We got a line in the rear.
It is a little messed up. That guy's running. Looks like he's in slow motion. That's all right.
To stage on right here at Y, and I think it's Hernandez. Command to Escambia, victims out. Charlie side providing BLS care.
I'll be ready to stop here, man. Not yet, Chloe. I'll tell you what.
Hey, Santana, feed him line right there. Feed that hose line. Give him a hose.
I paused right there. What you see in the picture in the back, that's to the rear of the house, right above where my safety glass is. That's the firefighters. Look at the bottom of the screen. 509. 509. My video was rolling, and the video started rolling as I was driving to the fire. They got him out. He's in the backyard. Firefighters in full bunker gear providing compressions. The fire department, structural firefighters in gear, provide BLS. He's passed off to ALS care. Successful grab. Once again, though, it came down to 3 on the first rig, 3 on the second rig. That's 6 people in under 6 minutes. People before water. And you can close that out, Corley. We don't need to watch any more of it. Anybody wants to watch this or share it, we don't share it on Facebook, but it is on the website under countyfiretactics.com. That's the last video under the videos.
Boom. Beef. Lots of comments coming at you. I don't even know where to start. There's so much, man. And you breaking down the video is just beautiful, and it proves it all. Go ahead.
We just got to hydrate. I'm working tomorrow, so I'm like pumping up water. I'm not the best when I'm off about drinking water, so I'm going back to work tomorrow after being at FDIC, so I'm making sure it's clear.
Fair. No, and I have to say, I figured out how to fix this. There we go. we're going to make up the rules. Oh, I love that. Did I lose your audio?
No, I'm here.
Okay, making sure. I haven't heard anything in a minute.
I was letting you talk.
No.
I just did 1,000 words a second for 10 minutes. At least let me have a break, Corley. Golly.
There's a lot of pressure to perform here. No, absolutely. What I was going to say, which I've completely lost my train of thought. There we go. There was a lot of talk about the hand mic. Is there a benefit to the telephone mic? Because
yes. Oh yeah. And here's the deal. I'll give you the answer now, and I want to tell you, for anybody that's a chief that's has chiefs, I'm working. My goal is in the next 2 years to have a real world fireground commander class. And I'm positive now the title is going to be commanding from the sidelines, because what you just saw in that video is me commanding from the sidelines. I'm in the back of the chief's buggy, but I can visually smell, feel, and not just talk on a radio, but I can yell at somebody. And there is a time to be able to do that and not just use a radio based on time compressed decision making. But yes, and I'm made fun of about that phone. And there's a picture that people use to do flyers, and it looks like I hadn't shaved. I actually shaved that morning. That's my buddy JJ's $10,000 lens that shows magnifies the fact that it was 3 o'clock in the afternoon. It was my 5 o'clock shadow. But the deal with the phone is that New York has those. And I really wanted it bad, man. I think the only reason I got it is at time our fire chief, Pat Grace, big mentor of mine growing up, was from New York, and he understood it. And is when it's like this and somebody's mic is wet, they're muffled, they're inside. There's times that I can't understand anything, but if I put that up to my head and I hold it there, it's pressured against it and it's crystal clear. I've had people say that they can tell when I'm talking on it and I'm not talking on something else. If I pull up a large 3-story condominiums going a few years ago out on the southwest side, I never left that, man. For the first hour, I commanded I held the phone right here. And that's also my leash. I do consciously use that as a leash. You'll see me. I got a bunch of videos where I get it and it like pulls me back to the car to say, hey, because when I get there, I tell myself, strategic, I'm sitting in the front seat. If I can see the incident through the windshield, I'm going to sit in the front seat. I got a command board above my visor, command board right here. Don't do it very often, but I'm ready for one fire in a career if that's what I got to do. Next to that would be half strategic, borderline tactical, where one or more companies got on scene before me. I'm going to be at the back of the buggy if I can see, smell, and hear what they're doing. And then tactical command would be full bunker gear, where I'm in the front yard because I may have to take a window, force the back door, help be the door firefighter because nobody else is coming. Like, I'm rolling in first due, or I'm rolling in right behind a 3-person engine company. It's going to be a decent amount of time before anybody else gets there. That's what I'm going to do. But I got sidetracked. But yes, you can't beat that. I think that ought to be mandatory at the back of any command vehicle, even more so than the headsets, because now you can do this and you can be stationary, command post, drop it, do that. And I keep a radio. Now, I'll tell you this, I think it's unacceptable for a battalion chief, or a chief officer commanding an incident away from a vehicle not to have a tactical radio on a sling, and if their coat's buttoned, it hangs out, and then a second portable. If you look at the picture you used, Corley, to add, you'll see my tactical radio that has my tactical command radio, and in my pocket up here, I've got my command radio, my Mayday radio, where I can be on 2 different frequencies without change. Is it possible to pull that picture up, Corley?
Possibly.
Yeah, it's the one you use to advertise the Firehouse Vigilance tonight. But that's critical too. Looking on the radio, talking, and then you're on the dispatch channel. So if shit's going bad, I can get on there and say whatever, T Street Command Escambia transmit a second alarm, and I'm not tying up the tactical channel. Or, if I feel like I need to have 2 frequencies, I have those on me. And what's happened to me a lot is a damn beeping battery that I thought was brand new, or the radio crashes. I got that second radio in the critical times where I'm running back to the main radio.
Give me a second. I'm just a little slow.
That's all right. So it just kind of answers that question. I think that's real important. I think a chief that's not at the back of a vehicle or in a vehicle needs 2 portable radios on them, and I really think they need a thermal imager 90% of the time. I think fireground commanders in the fire service are underutilizing thermal imaging on the exterior of a building, and or just to throw on a bad situation where, you get a confirmed entrapment, multiple, it's only got one tick per company, hand that tick off to the senior firefighter that's going in. So now you got two firefighters on the same two search team going left and right and separate.
Absolutely. There's that picture left up there for people to see. Coming back. Getting back in here. Okay, we're back. Coming at you, Chief. A couple of things. One person said this podcast should be mandatory. That was Gavin Reynolds. 100% I agree. The weekly scrap should be mandatory for everybody. It is my dream, desire, and everything to keep bringing in the best and most passionate fixing it guys with the best message. And you can't beat. I mean, there is not a better person. Someone said there is no better person. Jacob Johnson said, there is not a better person than Chief Ike for episode 100. Absolutely poured gasoline on the flame inside every fireman here tonight. No, and that's it, man. That makes my heart happy to know that people even think that. Because 100%. There is DJ Malouf said, how do you feel about chiefs that do not put gear on at a working fire?
I'm just checking my radar, man. It's popping lightning outside, and I'm trying to think if I left anything out on the dock. I think you should wear gear. Do you need to have gear on if you're sitting doing windshield command? I don't mean that negatively. I mean, but if you're doing windshield command, obviously you don't need gear on. You saw what I just did in the video. I got to the back of the vehicle, even though I was going to do mostly strategic command from a tactical deployment position, I still slowly got my gear on while trying to command the incident in case something bad happens. I think it's critical to wear the gear. I mean, it lets you know if you're getting hot, they're hot, I think it sends a message. For me, I don't think I'm better than any of my guys, but I think as an experienced firefighter, as an experienced chief, they don't have to like me. I hope I bring a sense of calmness. So if something bad happens and I'm at a fire and another chief shows up and I have my gear on and I can throw a pack on, I think that if we got to go in a building, I'm racing in the front door, that's going to make everybody else feel a little more confident in racing because I'm going in and not just standing outside, So I'm not going to beat up the chiefs that don't. I mean, a lot of them, it's what they know, their organization, it's how they operate. There's fire departments that the fire chief don't want their line chiefs wearing gear, But I view myself as a firefighter first and foremost. I mean, shit, man, a couple of weeks ago, we caught a good apartment fire, second floor through the roof, and I got to be the second floor interior chief, man. Into last month. I mean, that's what I like to do. I don't mind commanding them. But I'd much rather be inside breathing air. It's free. I mean, shit. Compressed air is better than, the damn air outside.
I like it. No, I love it. And Chief, Rob Fisher asked a question to you. He said, if you're concerned about hearing, shouldn't you be inside your buggy being strategic?
Hey, do you have a way to isolate people like that and just shut them the fuck off, just like eliminate them so they can't even be on the show? That's a good point. And here's the deal. That's where you're hoping that you're focused on your companies that are in a serious answer in an IDLH. So what you're listening to is critical, whether they, hoping that if they can transmit a mayday, they would, or the voice is in the orange button,
sure,
pressing the orange button. But no, there's pros and cons to everything. If you get out of your vehicle, you may not hear it, but if you don't get out of your vehicle, you might not see it either. So don't forget, man, eyes to see, ears to hear, nose to smell, and brain to compute all three. So, there's ups and downs to all of it. It just, it doesn't happen. I mean, I've done all. I mean, and the bigger the incident, and I can see it through the windshield, I like being in the front seat. But for me, those incidents are just far and few between based on apparatus positioning, location of the building. I just get lucky. I more times than not, I get there first. If not, I get there right behind the first due rig. My vehicle just happens to somehow get us there quickly.
Love it. Scrolling. There is
good question. Now, that is a good question, and that's you can go back and forth. But I talk about Fisher Street. I'd have two firemen to be, significantly burned, if not dead, from the winter of 2004 if I'd have been sitting in my buggy. I got pictures of it. That fire was a bad deal, man. John Van Meter, Jeff Tavener, Brian Hicks, and Steve Booth, 4 guys I've been going to fires with for, well, some of them, Hicks is now up in Alaska, but those 3, I've been going to fires with them, man. And that fire goes through my head. I think about it, a bunch throughout the year. Anytime I teach, I think about it. And thank God that night I wasn't in my buggy. Thank God I was walking down the D Delta side of the house because we were task saturated, staff limited, and I was doing it. So, everybody's got to do what their experiences are. But, here's the deal. We can't tell a chief to stay in his buggy. Next thing you know, he's going to pull up in front of a house that we don't know is in trap. They sit in their car for 2 or 3 minutes waiting for the first due rig. They got their ass out of the buggy, did a 360, maybe opened the door and looked in. They just seen Mrs. Smith unconscious, 2 feet in. They could have grabbed her and drug her out. She'd be alive.
There we go. All right, Chief, I got a picture here. You asked me to make this, so I want to share it. I want you to talk about it. If I can pull it up. There it is.
Oh, okay. Yeah, this is good. So, listen up, folks. First and foremost, never forget means never forget. Remember fallen brothers. I think it's the duty of all firefighters, especially command officers, to study, if not all line of duty deaths, ones that are significant to you. And if you're taking notes, there's 2 types of fires. 2 types of fires. One's that the hydrant will not extinguish, or hydrants. Basically, you just control until you consume the fuel packages. And then there's another fire that 90+% of the time per NIFRS can be extinguished with the onboard water supply, booster tank, and 1 3/4 inch. That's from the National Fire Incident Reporting System. And that's what we're looking at. 2 fires from the same exact month. The one on the right, everybody knows about the one on the right, and you're looking at the screen. Worcester Cold Storage Warehouse, December 3rd, 1999. On the left is what I respectfully talk about a lot when I'm teaching, is the forgotten fire. Keokuk, Iowa. Had the opportunity to sit on the front row more than once, listen to the fire chief, phenomenal leader. God bless him. Wrote an article, taught at the conference multiple times. And the one on the left happened in December 1999 too. Not purposely by anybody, by no means, nobody at fault, but Worcester was 6 people. The one on, 6-story cold storage warehouse, 6 people paid the ultimate sacrifice, challenged everybody to read 3,000 degrees. It should be mandatory reading. The one on the left is Keokuk, where 3 firefighters died in the same month, but it's a duplex, 2-story duplex, small. It's the one we're talking about, people before water. 6 people in under 6 minutes, staff aligned to get water on a fire, simultaneous search, understand your horizontal openings, whether it be an entry point through a door, a window that failed, or in this case, she opened the window, climbed up on the front porch roof. I challenge you to watch the 12-minute video by NIST that fully goes through the growth of the fire on the kitchen stove. Can you pop up that picture, the one on the left, Corley, that's got like firefighters in, flash over in a matter of about 90 seconds. It's got the 4 screen, Spartanburg I sent you.
I'll try. Let me see if I saved it in the right
No big deal. But on both these fires are significant. You should study both of them.
No, I don't think I did. Don't think I got it
No
saved,
problem.
Chief. Okay.
No problem. But looking at this, so we're talking about the one on the right. You're going to need every hydrant you can get. You're going to maximize zero out the hydrants, tanker operations. We're not going to get into it tonight, but you need to understand the Iowa flow formula, the National Fire Academy flow formula. Length times width divided by 3, and all that kind of stuff is critical. But when we're talking about that one on the left, that's the one where it's worth the risk. Keokuk, Iowa, where we got kids trapped. And we've got to study history and strategically deploy and maximize our responding units and how we have them arrive and how we tactically deploy them for them and us. And I hope, we're probably, winding down here. It's 10:17, 11:17 Eastern. And as we wind down, I want people to think about this. My top question tonight is the hydrant for them or us? Because I can't find a residential line of duty death. I can't find a residential line of duty death, like the Keokuk, where catching a hydrant is going to make the difference between a firefighter living or dying. What I do know is if we can get at least 6 people on the fire ground in less than 6 minutes, and you still can in 8 minutes and 9 minutes, all, you got to look at the grass, but I just like the term 6 and under 6. We're going to make a difference, man. We really are. And don't take me out of context. You know what? If I'm rolling down the street and I'm going to XYZ street, it's got a 4,000 square foot house and I got multiple callers and they say the exposures are lighting off and the whole attic's consumed and everybody's out. Hell, I might have the first engine lay in. I probably have the first engine lay out. To be honest with you, reverse out. Pump the hydrant. Matt, you want water supply? Maximize the hydrant. I think a forward lay sucks. I think LDH 5-inch on a forward lay is about one of the most absurd water supply options that we brainwash the American Fire Service that takes it as the go-to operation, man. And we can't get into that tonight, but the reality is, 90+% of the residential fires we go to can be extinguished with onboard water supply, backed up with a hydrant for overhaul volume is what it's all about.
Dude, this might go down on the record as the scrap where I've said the least, and it might be the best scrap ever. There might be a correlation there I need to tap into. 100%. I've got people saying, wind down. I'm still driving home. Keep going. Gavin Reynolds said, don't stop. Someone said, get that man a Red Bull. Don't let him wind down. So there you go. I do have the pictures of Maurice taking a blow and the pictures of the outside, the inside. That's up to you. This is.
Oh, yeah, you put them up there.
Okay.
I mean,
I'm asking.
Yeah, that's fine. The CFT logo, for anybody that doesn't know, that's watched, never been to a conference, I'm never going to stop telling the story. So the CFT logo on the front is 201. That was Maurice's badge number, paid the ultimate sacrifice on November 25th, 2000 in a 1,200 square foot wood frame house on a poured slab. My training number was 186. My badge number was 186. He was 201. Means he got hired 15 firefighters behind me. That means I was 15 firefighters senior to him. I was a lieutenant at the time. For anybody that hasn't heard me, I've told the story 100 times. I got him relocated, through Chief Baker. I requested him get moved from engine 4 to the back of engine 5, 10 months before he died of that fire. So I relocated to the engine company that drove him to his last fire. And I embrace the guilt more than I ever have. I have a slide of his picture where I'd say embrace the guilt. And, for the last 21 years come this November, I'm passionate about teaching other people. And so when I ask you, is the hydrant for them or us, I think about Maurice. Maurice, you didn't put a picture up at a house, Cordy. The fire he died in was a tank fire. Maurice would be here. That's it, man. That's after the fire's extinguished. Couple rooms of fire. The deal is he didn't die because of water supply. He died because I didn't take the time the shift before. He drove me on the rescue. Literally, he died on November 25th, in the middle of the night before, about 24 hours before, he was my driver on a rescue. And I should have been talking about, don't be scared to put water on smoke. If you're on the nozzle and 30 minutes, if I just spent 30 minutes of what I teach on the road now to him sitting in a firehouse drinking coffee, he'd be here today. So, and that's just the front and the side of the house. Look at Oscar Armstrong, Stephen Solomon, the Berkeley Way. Most line of duty deaths in residential structures, they were tank fires. And even after when the fire's out, it looks like a fire you go to, couple rooms of fire to extinguish. The building's not burned down. The building could be repaired. A lot of times they bulldoze it based on the fact that a firefighter was killed in it. But those are things that, those are the hard discussions, the hard talks. When I'm doing a class, I say, you know what, man, don't waste 10 months. I wasted 10 months that I could have spent a lot more time with him. That's going in the front. That's the conditions. In the front door, see the couch on the left. And these are my pictures, man. I took these pictures the night of the fire. And just, there's, the crap, but that's pretty common. We go to a lot of fires like that where there's crap everywhere. It's, you just, you learn how to climb over it and walk over it and learn to put water on smoke, water, on black fire, if you will, water mapping. and understanding coordinated ventilation. I want to say it for the 50th time. Water creates and maintains survivable space. That's the room. It's hard to see, but that's the hose line. I can't point to it on my thing, but bottom right, there's a chair. That's it. Thank you, Corley. That's the hose line right there. He drug it into that room, and he got off the nozzle. That's a bed. If you look, it's hard up against the wall. It's a bed frame. Top center is like a little silver lamp with a 110, a little bitty light bulb sticking in it. Just, and our guys still go to a lot of these kind of fires. He left the nozzle, no integrated pass device, no portable radio. He left the room, crawled across the room into the other room, and was found in the room of fire. There it is, the picture. So his line, that's it. Thanks, Cordy. That's the primary attack line, not a very big house. Another line went in and to the room. But, when they got there, it really wasn't a lot of fire. Contributing factors was, me not talking at the coffee table to him the 10 months before this, the American Fire Service embracing positive pressure attack, a lack of understanding coordinated fire attack, ventilation, and water application, and just, standardized tactics that around the country. But, I hope 21 years later, there's a lot of people out there who are making a difference. Engine company operations is sexy. Water on the fire is sexy. And I think we can eliminate death on the nozzle in relation to flashovers. We can just get more people to flow water. You can dry shit out, but you can't unburn it.
Love it. Love it, man. And you have to flow water to need water. That's the one I haven't heard tonight, so I wanted to throw it out there.
Oh, yeah. That's one of my favorites.
That's one of my favorites.
That's what time in the tank's all about. I mean, guys are worried about catching a hydrant and the damn rig on scene ain't even flowing water yet. I mean, you hadn't even started the stopwatch. I mean, it's like saying, hey, go get gas in your car and it's sitting on full. I mean, at least wait till the thing gets to 3/4 of a tank. People don't drive around all day stopping at every gas station.
Nope. I love it. Now, Chief, we're at 2 hours and 21 minutes. It's officially the longest scrap ever on record.
Oh, shit. Well, we're not trying to set any records or anything.
Well, you've already done it, so now it's just how far you want to push it. My question is, I always like to ask people if there are book or books that they think firefighters should read, and I love picking your brain on book or books. So I'll give you a chance to throw a couple out there or whatever you want to throw out there.
Well, I mean, obviously you should get the book, Tom Brennan's book on random thoughts. I've been reading that since he started writing whatever in the late 80s, and then saved every copy from early 1992 for almost 20 years. But man, I think really a book that I think I told you this last time I was on a scrap. One of my favorite books is Chief Clark's book, man. William Clark's book, the blue book.
The blue one.
Cheap on Amazon. It's great. If you're just gonna buy one book of Chief done, because he has a lot of them, just one, his strategy book. So one he did, I don't know, probably 5 to 10 years ago. It's black with orange lettering at the top. That's probably his, most powerful book for, to read on strategy and tactics, if you will. Obviously, John Norman's Fire Officer Handbook is the baseline for firefighters, officers, and, chiefs. Fire Stream Management Handbook for engine gurus. I'm fortunate enough, I got a hard copy 20 some years ago. Wow. Is a big deal. And I'm doing educational books. Obviously, 2,000 Alarms. My wife got it for me as a gift. They're very expensive, like $500 on eBay. Report from Engine Company, 82. All of those are, good books, if you will. Everybody should subscribe to WNYF. Jim McCormick's FDTN should be a mandatory monthly magazine. Am I keeping you up, Trev? FDTN monthly subscription, no articles, no nothing, vetted articles by Jim, which is, real critical. There's a lot. Those are strategy and tactics books. Step Up and Lead by Vizguso. That's just an easy read. The new book out by Scott Thompson, The Functional Fire Company. Yes. You're talking about books, ODP in January. It is, we've had some phenomenal ODPs, man. There's never been a bad one. They're always awesome. They're different every time. This coming year, we got Chief McGrail, One Day All Day with his high-rise book. Nice. We got Scott Thompson and One Day All Day with his Functional Fire Company and his new programs. We got Turpak with his, that's a great book, Size Up, yes. Fireground Size Up. Chief Turpak, just one of them polished professional speakers. One of our CFT team members teaches a lot. And then Vizguso, step up your teamwork and step up and lead. And then I'm just going to pick up the trash and do a 5th day and do some random time delay tactics. Urban to suburban, rural to, suburban fire tactics. So we're going to have, 5 speakers, 5 days. It's legit though, man.
No doubt.
You can't get your certificate unless you're there at 5:00 on Friday. We hand it to you. There's no email and there's no printed copy. It's stamped, signed, passed out on Friday. You have to be in class 8 to 5 Monday through Friday. We prefer a class A on Monday, if not a suit. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, we want you at least a minimum button-up shirt because it's cold out, so you're not going to be hot. And it's a legit program, man. It really is. It's legit stuff though. We cover some cool stuff in that class. We do give you a 2-hour lunch break. We give a 2-hour lunch break so you can go eat for 45 minutes, go take an hour nap, wake up, knock out a bang or a cup of coffee or Cuban coffee and come back to finish out the afternoon. So it's manageable, doable. We get great feedback on it. Anybody that was watching tonight, if you register though, remember FHV 99 will get you $99 off. We got $99 hotel rooms for that. And we still have a few spots for that coming up this January.
And you just named off 5 top shelf instructors who are going to speak day after day after day at ODP. And that's amazing, man. Every one of them top shelf. So
those are a lot of books, and I could name other ones, but, I always tell people outside the fire service, and I told you this last time, the best leadership book that's not a fire service book is John Maxwell, 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership, Understanding the Law of the Lid. And in my organization, I understand the law of the lid. Sometimes you just become polarized and organizationally you're maxed out based on how long you've been there. That's why the military moves their commanders around. And in the fire service though, you just can't leave. You got to get your pension, there's a point where there's a saturation rate. And so I do the best I can to command my folks, give them a little nugget here or there. But the law of lid is just reality. Once you acknowledge it, you embrace it and make the most of it.
Love it. All right, Chief. I have to do 5 questions, even though you've done the 5 questions. But I've never done a scrap without doing it. And even though we're running long, I'm going to hit you with the 5 questions So the answers are completely your opinion. The points are arbitrary and assigned by me. So, Chief, are you ready for the 5 questions for firefighters?
Yes.
All right, number 1. What is the number 1 issue facing the modern American fire service?
Regurgitating old tactics for tomorrow's fires.
That's clear, cut, and dried. I won't even poke the bear. So, okay. Number 2. What is the thing you are most excited about for the future of firefighting?
Getting the civilian fire fatality rate in this country below 2,000 by using factual confirmed rescues and grabs through firefighterrescuesurvey.com.
Love it. Below 2,000. Best rank or position to have in the fire service?
Being in the fire department, firefighter. I mean, the reality is that's what we probably should get back to. I love the question, but I don't think there's a best rank. I don't think there's a best, position. For me, I got promoted as a young age. I've been a chief more than half, my career, even counting my time as a junior firefighter. So, I got to embrace my position. I love being a fireground commander after, over 17 years of 100%. That's my primary duty. I'm still learning how to be a better fireground commander. I'm learning how to maximize the tactical ability of my people through my strategic thinking, evaluating history like the Waco incident and the report that I think it was President Reagan made him write on it, studying coaches like Dabo Sweeney and, Bill Belichick and Nick Saban and how they strategically get ready for the last 2 minutes of a football game and how I can apply that, like my article says, depth on the bench. So, I know it's a long answer, but, I got to embrace it. I like it. At the end of the day, it's taken me a long time to not want to be on the Nozzle or a Halligan tool. I could have stayed a firefighter my whole career and be fine. I wasn't looking to be a chief. It happened.
I love it. And there's a reason they call you America's Chief. Number 4, best advice you have ever received.
Well, my dad gave me a lot of advice, but I would say the best advice I've been given by multiple people without giving credit to all those people would be just slow your roll. Slow your roll, which is basically what I'm working on now. Emotional intelligence. It's taken a long, long time for me to embrace it. I'm really, truly just embracing it this year. I've really never embraced it in the past. I've blown it off. I pushed it off. And now it is a true quest of mine to slow my roll, be patient, and try to help others get where they want to be and what they want to do in the fire service, and pump up some of the younger folks that even I've been guilty of suppressing, knocking down, and, throw gas on their fire.
Love it. Final question, Chief. Question number 5. You got heavy fire. You got searchable space. Would you rather be on the Nozzle, or would you rather be first in on VES?
I can give you Howard's thing. Do both. Take that fucking hose line in the window for the search. And I agree. I teach that. I believe it. I would say the hose line. I wouldn't have a problem if you had 3 people trapped and you had some good firefighters that could do truck work. I'd be on the Nozzle just because I'm just, I'm a geek for, water. I've always been since I was a little bitty kid. I love being on a 1-inch booster line off old Little John or a 6x6 military brush truck. So you can't beat being on a Nozzle, especially if it's a smooth bore killing fire, man. There's just nothing cooler than killing fire with a smooth bore.
Love it. And I don't think Todd Edwards said max points, and I don't think anybody has I don't think there could be better answer for episode 100 of the 5 questions for firefighters and the weekly scrap. And I'm not going to lie. It's kind of like really a catharsis. I don't even know how to say it, but that's officially 100 scraps in the books. And I can't say
congratulations.
enough.
Awesome job, brother. You're spreading good stuff. You're getting great people, man. There's, more great people that you're going to have on here. And I'll say it. There's a few people that I really wanted to see 100, but the schedule didn't line up, for it. And I think in the future, talking with Cordy, those guys will be on here, some of my mentors. So, there's still more great people. You're not going to run out of people. There's every day this fire service is producing phenomenal leaders to lead us into the future.
Absolutely. There they are. Home runs by all night by Chief Ike. That was amazing. Todd Edwards said, thanks, brother. Congratulations. I give it a 10. Please poke the bear. Yes, everything, guys. 100%. Chief, no, you worked very hard. I talked to you, and you've been nothing but a fantastic supporter of the scrap and Firehouse Vigilance. I couldn't ask for more. And we tried to get different people. We talked about it. He said, hey, I'll do it. And I'm like, are you serious? And you're like, yes. And so I can't say thank you enough. Guys, the scrap would be nothing without all of you tuning in, asking these questions, making it so great, supporting it and spreading the word. So thank you so much. Thank you to Chief Ike for making it special. I don't know what else to say. Coming up.
Just say this.
Go ahead.
Make sure you look under the thing. Scott Slocum is working on something on there. And sometime tomorrow, if not tomorrow, in the next day or two, I'm leaving it up to Scott Slocum to figure out how he's going to pick the one pass for HROC, the one for ODP, and the one for CFT Fire School for whoever was watching. However Scott does it, that's going to be up to him. I'll get the names from Scott and give them to Jessica, and we'll get you complimentary passes to those conferences. And then the FHV 99.
FHV 99, $99 off. And then the giveaways. Make sure you click on the links that Scott Slocum has been posting and get in there on it, man, because you're not going to get a better deal. I'm going to be out there in 3 weeks or so?
No, well, you're probably flying in a week from next Monday.
Shoot, it's getting here. So, yeah.
So 2 weeks from yesterday.
We're already here.
We're nearly 600 coming to Water on a Fire. UL is going to be there to build it. I mean, we have the largest number of instructors and speakers we've ever had. I'm big about using the same guys, but we took the feedback. A lot of our students have asked us for different instructors. So we brought in some phenomenal speakers. Pretty much all the topics are brand new topics, brand new keynotes. The only one that seems a little similar is Brush's Exponential, but it's different and changed. Last year, 2 years ago, he didn't teach last year. He's only taught one other time. He taught the one on fire attack with the water. So this is truly a different program. So I don't think one of our lectures has ever been taught at Water on the Fire. So that's cool for anybody that comes to all of them. It's all new lectures So we're excited, real excited about Water on the Fire. Nearly 600 attendees on Pensacola Beach.
I'm excited about Water on the Fire. I'm excited about Pensacola. I'm excited about seeing you, Chief Ike. I'm excited about going to Patty's. Everything, redfish, bluefish, you name it. It's just a magical time. The guest coming up next week, Anthony Rowett, is next week, followed after Water on the Fire by Rob Backer and the Art of Reading Smoke. Good stuff. If you are going to be at Water on the Fire, see me there. I want to hoist a beer with you. I want to get pictures with you because mutts don't scrap. And Chief Ike, I cannot say thank you enough for being guest number 100.
Thank you very much. And go to countyfiretactics.com and sign up for the box alarm. Eventually, you're going to have to subscribe to that. It's free right now. If you sign up, it's free forever. So go to countyfiretactics.com on the top and clean up so you get the emails that of all the information sent straight to your inbox.
There's the link. Box alarm right there. There's the link. So click it. Scott Slocum is sending the links.
All it is you give your email address, and then Scott's got it in the system whenever we want to send out discount codes, new articles, new stuff that's going on, comes straight to your inbox. Make sure that your email accepts it, and it's free, man. We're working hard to get more information, more articles. There's only so much time in a day, man, but I'm happy and excited to see what Scott does over the next year with that website.
I love it, Andrew. I really do. We'll see what happens. All right, guys. Thank you, everybody that tuned in live. Unbelievable scrap. You made me so happy. Chief, thanks again for being a guest. I hope the tone stays silent. Unless it's burning, everybody stay safe out there.
All right, have a great night.